Reading Brain Blow.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins.
I love how you're doing it so slow.
I'm not doing it slow. I was just saying it. Why did you think that was slow?
Like, one of us has to interrupt.
That's amazing.
I'm sorry. It's
I'm
just like last
Aaron
week.
Dicer, and I'm joined as always by Jonathan Watkins.
Hello.
And Denise Hughes. Was that like a slow motion air horn?
I was trying.
That's nice. That's nice. We write
Like
for
the most boring basketball game ever.
That's right. We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well, like make fools of ourselves. You know, a slow motion air horn sounds like a whale call. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, like from.
Yeah, exactly.
I went whale watching once. I got really sick, so I've never been again.
Oh,
I found out boats and oceans don't mix well with me very quickly.
If you're gonna be on a boat, it needs to be on land. That's
right.
Jonathan's rule.
Well, no, calmer waters.
Okay.
There's this house that I pass when I take Iris to childcare, and they have a boat, and I've passed this area because my mom and dad live really close to where Iris's childcare provider is. And so I've seen the progression of the situation for like the last, 15 years or something, maybe 10 years. And it's just these people have a boat, but they clearly are, it's a weird, anyways, it's been slowly being overgrown by plants.
Oh, yes.
So it's a land boat.
Oh,
You literally cannot see it from the road anymore. It's completely obscured now. I think there's one part, if you know where to look, which I do since I've passed it so much, where you can kind of see the very top of like maybe something that was jutting out of the very top for a radio like communication or something. Yeah. Anyway, if you want to go on that boat, I know right where it is, and I've always been curious what's inside.
Probably nothing good. Probably rats and all kinds of fun
There
stuff.
was
They set fire to thousands of dollars.
There was a local store, like it was a big news story because I remember passing this boat all the time, and it was a decent sized boat here locally that was just completely overgrown. And then it was like a major news story locally when they decided to clean it up, and because everybody knew that boat as just this overgrown boat on the side of the road. It's just like, man.
I guess that's the cool stuff that happens in Missouri.
That's right. Exactly.
When the theaters close, this is what we do.
This is what we did before the theaters close here. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. Hey, before we get into the rest of the show, another shout out for the Amazing Sin Club and the Amazing Sin Club members. That was more real speed, more full speed air horn.
I'm still working on it.
Thank you, Sin Club.
Now we're speaking whale from Finding Dory or Finding Nemo.
That is what I was doing.
Anyhow, we really do appreciate you. And if it's something that you've been curious about, just kind of how that works, membership at CinemaSins, we have a lot of really cool, fun thank yous that we do for our Sin Club members. First of all, we allow all the stuff that we do to be out early. So you get to check out all the videos, podcasts, all that kind of stuff early. And then we also do a monthly bonus podcast just for our Sin Club members. And the only way you get to listen to that is as a Sin Club member. And so those are a lot of fun. Our Sin Club members also pick the topics for those, which is also kind of cool. So if you're interested in checking that out, you can check the Sin Club out at Patreon, patreon.com/CinemaSins, or you can go to cinemasins.com and click on where it says membership. But we appreciate all our Sin Club members and want to make sure if that's something you're curious about or interested in that you knew that was available. And I really only kind of scratched the surface. You can go there and look at, all the different kind of fun perks and fun stuff that we do with our members at Patreon. So fun stuff, but wanted to make sure you guys knew about that. Ready to get into the SinSide Scoop, guys?
Let's do it!
What's he building in there?
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week, the process of sending them, how we felt about the stuff we're sending in general. We'll kick it off with TV Sins, and we're still on our Avatar kick for a couple more episodes at least. So we did Avatar the Library. This was a Dicer Hughes script, so Janae and I wrote on this one. So this is The Library, one of my favorite episodes. I really enjoy this episode. Of course, I like pretty much all Avatar stuff, but we've kind of talked about the show in general. Is there anything specific about this episode that you like, Janae? And Jonathan, you too, if you happen to have seen the whole
agree.
episode.
I thought it was one of the better episodes that I've seen so far. The owl was really creepy, which was fun.
Yeah.
And looks straight up like there's this Italian horror movie from like 1987 maybe called Stage Fright Aquarius, and it all takes place like in this where they're doing this. They're practicing for a theatrical production, and there's a costume that's an owl, and so the killer ends up adorning that putting that costume on, and it looks straight up like this one. So
Whoa.
it's just like to the point where I'm like, are there some Avatar writers that like the Stage Fright Aquarius?
I'm sure that's it. I'm sure that's it.
I'm sure that's it. No, but it's a pretty common look of an owl, I guess. But I don't know. But it was just funny getting that memory of some weird Italian horror movie while I was watching this. But no, I thought this was fun, and I like libraries. So
Yeah.
Also libraries. When I was rewatching this one to write the script, it's fun for me because I've seen all of the episodes, but it's been long enough that I didn't remember exactly what was going to happen or why this is one of the ones that the fans want the most. And then, yeah, just being able to watch it, I was like, oh, yeah, this is the one where Appa is kidnapped. This is the one, where we get to see Toph, like, I mean, she's awesome anyway, but we get to see even more of her power of being able to just like sustain this massive library under sand, which when you think about it is super sinful, but it was still really epic to watch.
For 90 minutes.
They gain the upper hand to find out the Fire Nation's weakness in this one. And then there's like a little wink to the future that I totally missed the first time around that I was able to catch this time, which I'll talk about when I do my keeping tabs.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I love this episode. I love it because to me it is indicative of how this show really understands the variety of its episodes. It understands that we need to do bottle episodes sometimes. We need to do character work sometimes. We need to do world building, and this is a world building episode. This is an episode that you start to understand the real depth of the history of this world. It's certainly not the only one, and there have been others even before this one, where they get into some stuff. But that's what I like about this kind of episode is the real world building aspect of it. And just kind of the vast history of kind of what's going on. So
it's like it really shows the writing too, like that they have such a plan in this world building. They really care about the story a lot. The things that are hinted at that happen later, it's like, wow, they had such forethought in how they put this all together. So yeah, and it's of course fun to see them up against a bad guy and doing their thing. So. Yeah, I had a good time rewatching this one.
One of the most disappointing defeats of a bad guy, though, it just hits him over the head with a book. Like, there's no. I mean, I know Sokka needs his day. Like, I know he needs to be the hero sometimes, and he can't bend stuff. But for a show where it's it's usually so creative and fun, it's just like, nope, Sokka just managed to jump from somewhere and hit him on the head with a book.
It's the power of reading, Aaron.
That's right.
Yeah, he was gliding in, I think, maybe with Aang. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The other thing that was interesting too
is it a reading brain blow? Is that what it was?
Oh my God! Wow. Why was that not in the script, Aaron?
Reading brain blow. Sorry, I kind of just
we could have called up LeVar and been like, "Hey man, can you please do this?"
He listens to the show, so
yeah.
He seems like a very approachable individual.
He really does. He really does.
Oh my God.
We can move into the video itself. Jonathan, you didn't write on this one, so why don't you kick us off? What was some of your stuff here?
I liked you guys were questioning how good of a singer a prairie dog was. That was funny.
They were
felt
really
kind of bad
flat
for the prairie dog. Like you were Simon Cowling the prairie dog.
Yes. Yes. I couldn't figure out how to do it because there's a little bit of a racial element to it that, the narrator's not black, but Randy Jackson is. But he was always like, your pitchy dog. And I thought there was like a prairie dog, kind of thing. So like your pitchy dog would have worked.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
So anyhow, that didn't make the script, but it did cross my head.
He did say that all the fucking time.
Every
I just now
single
remembered
audition.
this.
Yes.
What did he say?
Your pitchy
He
dog.
said, "You're pitchy dog."
Yeah.
Your pitchy dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, I don't know. He's an interesting guy. And then he would talk about how he was in Journey when they weren't popular.
Yeah.
You guys talked about a quick trip to muscle atrophy when Aang uses his
leg
powers
day.
to stand up.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
really funny about that is when I first started working from home full time a couple years ago, that was one thing I genuinely asked my wife. I was like, what do I need to be doing to avoid, like, how quickly can you get muscle atrophy? Because I was like, I just felt really uncomfortable that I wasn't doing as much because I didn't have to like walk around, and at that point I didn't even have like an office. I was just sitting in a chair in the living room, and
Yeah.
I was
Man,
having
I'm
like
with
neck
you on
issues
that.
and stuff, and so I was like half joking and half kind of scared.
I'm
So
with
that
you.
was a fun memory.
No, totally. As somebody who works from home and sits a lot watching stuff,
Yeah.
like I totally get that. And the really scary thing is an atrophy. Atrophy is something that will happen over time, and you'll survive it. The really scary things are embolisms, when you like stay in the
Yeah.
same position for too long and a blood clot forms, and then when you move,
Okay,
it
we
releases.
can stop
and-
talking about it. This is one of the big like risks of our career.
We should
Maybe the
we should
only
get
one.
hazard pay.
I mean, maybe like losing hearing, but other than that,
Every single day am reminded on my smartwatch to get up and move, and it's never at a good time because I'm in the middle of doing something important. I'm like, no, I'm inspired. I'm writing a script or whatever. But every time that I get up to go to the bathroom, it's like, great job moving. I'm literally just
and right
getting
now
up to
we're
walk
inside.
to pee.
We're inside even more now, right? Because of other reasons,
sure.
And then plus we work inside, so we don't even have an excuse to leave. So it's like, why would we? Yeah, and Barrett used to tell me. I mean, he really liked. He got the what are they, standing desks? Is that what they're called?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He got one and just really liked it. So it was more just him like being like, I really like this. Like, you should get a standing desk. And I'm just silent. Yeah, I get it. I'm lazy. Thank you. Like, I will work on getting that standing desk. Which I haven't, of course. But
Yeah.
but it is cool. Like,
is
you
cool.
just
Sure.
gives yourself a little bit of exercise in the afternoon after you've been sitting all day.
Yep.
Or you could just get up and walk. That's a possibility. But
Nah.
that just seems silly.
Or you can get a smartwatch to remind you to walk and then not do it.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
It's great. It's great.
The library sin was really funny, but what was really funny was when Aaron, like the way I think this was, I don't know if this is just the way you delivered your laugh or if it was just through the process of editing, like, shortening it. It kind of sounded like you were choking on a hairball, like you were kind of like, "Rah!"
There's somebody in the comments that called it a Sheldon laugh.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, somebody in the comments called it a Sheldon laugh. They loved it. They said
No, it was great.
That Sheldon laugh after his own pun.
That is exactly what it was, though. Yeah, no, I hear that now.
Yeah.
And then of course, well, you guys are questioning how many days they checked on that machine. That was really funny. The idea that he had just been doing that instead of like helping.
It is, for me, it is the primary sin of the episode and one of the biggest sins I've seen in something in a long time, because it insinuates that this crazy chase and her holding up the building and all this tension stuff is happening over a process of pull the switch, wait for 30 seconds. Is that the one? No. Pull the switch, wait 90 times at least. Like,
Yeah.
it's mind-blowing when you really think of it.
Yeah, he did a good job writing that series because you had two. One was like, we'll wait for the eclipse, and the other
Right.
one was like, to reiterate. And then you went through the kind of like the whole thing. Plus, you've got the whole chase happening, and it really is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Once you start to think
I
about
do
it.
want to mention, which I guess I could talk about it more. Maybe this one's next week, but the one that I wrote on, I'm not sure it's even possible to blow yourself. I use that as a defense against the sin I wrote later as not being too pervy.
Good.
Because you guys allowed this, and it still got cut.
Oh.
But we've got the blowjob joke in this one. And Sean Hannity was the only other one I had written down. I thought that was very funny.
Yeah, nice. Danae, what about you?
Well, I might overlap on Jonathan a little bit because I remembered something from the libraried one. And and I went to go back and look in the script, and I gave him a prompt for it to be like a snort snicker.
Yeah. Yes.
It was specifically supposed to be a snort snicker.
Yes.
And I like
I
that.
tried. I tried my best.
You did great.
I like it was different. That's I liked it.
I like that this narrator loves his own jokes, because that is me. Like, that is one of those things when you talk about this narrator, like, he loves his own
Well, and
puns.
that's a you thing too, right?
Right, yeah,
like
exactly.
You're very proud when you you're like a proud papa when you
Right.
come up
Yeah.
with a good
Just
pun or
just
something.
rewind, a minute to reading Brain Blow, and you'll see how proud I get of my wordplays. So yeah.
Man, I hope somebody that listens to us knows LeVar Burton and keeps that by him, because that is hilarious.
Another one that I liked her delivery on was the use your spit. Just thought that I enjoyed the Blades one. I don't know if you mentioned that one, Jeremy. I mean, Jonathan, my God, it's that day. I just glanced. I literally just glanced over to Slack, and there was Jeremy. I'm like,
And joining us today on the show, you didn't know this, Jeremy's here.
damn it. Anyway, there was a lot
Yeah,
of
you
fun.
got people really excited for a second.
Yeah, sorry guys. There was a lot of fun comments. Actually, there's a whole comment stream about the Blades, but I wanted to say that my note to the editor was to say, like, because the lead in was something like, I don't see anything wrong while we plan our strategy, and it's like, no, I see something wrong. These blades aren't washed. And then you replay it, and my instructions were to replay from this moment to see the choppy.
Yes.
I was having a lot of fun with this one. But there was this whole comment stream on the blades of people talking about whether or not they're cleaned. So that was
Is that the one where they're
exciting.
like, well, he cuts ice, so doesn't that clean them? And somebody's like, not knowing the difference between rinsing and washing.
Yes. Yes. Conflating rinsing and washing was
I
from
remember that.
Reen King. And yeah, that was a fun series of. I just like it whenever the comment section goes off on like a little rant run of their own.
Yeah.
It's that community building part of our job that's really exciting for me. The pointing out the whole thing with the map where there's like this winding kind of part and just questioning why you would walk the same way back. I thought that was a really good thing.
If you're mapping something, you would think you would come back a different way and map a little bit more rather than just walking back the way you came.
Yeah. We both actually wrote something about the foxes walking up the tower. Aaron's was so great though, like disrespecting gravity. It's just really, really funny to me. The whole 10,000 thing was also fun because that got some comments as well. Did you guys see the explanation of 10,000 things?
Yeah, I have
the
that in my comment section. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk about that later. But that was a fun thing to kind of learn about. And then Aaron's humans only bother knowing things to get the edge on other humans. And Aaron pointed out, or porn. Forgot to.
Everything leads to porn with humans. Like, yeah.
Also, why didn't Appa just fly away? I don't get that. Anyway, but yeah.
Yep.
I don't know why Appa's still around. Like, I mean, he could have flown away a long time ago, right?
Yeah, he could have. You mentioned pretty much everything I did. I really love the Blades Wash one. The only other one was the Wiggly Woo Woo Fingers. I think deserves a mention. That was really funny, and the editing instruction to kind of focus in on the fingers.
Yeah, those are like the woo woo.
Yeah, this is a kid show, buddy. And then you talked about the building, and I did one of my favorite things with that one, which is a type of intentional ignorance with animation that is really fun, where you actually pretend like it's live action. I remember the first time I did this, and I'm sure it's been done before, was in the when we sinned the animated Aladdin. And I was like, people don't know this, but when they shot this day, this was actually a stagehand's arm and not Aladdin's actual arm. Like that whole thing. I love doing that. And so in this case, it was like, here's how you do it. You actually film it the other way and then turn it so it looks like they're running. It's like, just ignoring the fact that you can draw whatever you want to draw. I love doing that. That's one of my favorite animation things to do. So I wanted to mention
Were there any comments like, it's animated?
No, I think people got that.
I mean, I hope people get that.
Yeah, you would hope.
I don't know.
Did you say Snooty Hootie? Because that was another one that I thought was really funny.
I had a lot of fun with the naming the owl. I think there were 3.
Snooty Hootie.
Snooty Hootie was one. Know It Owl Know What Owls was one. And then Guardians of Gafool was another one. So yeah, I had a good time with that. So
what is that movie called? It's Guardians of Gahul. Is that what it's called?
yeah. Lots of fun. I'm really glad we're doing this Avatar run. So just one more, couple more. I can never remember.
Aw.
So, but
There's 10 more, 100 more.
we're doing them all.
more.
We're doing them all. I wish.
Every one of them.
We might eventually. Not in the next 2 months though.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move on to DuckTales. Woo!
Woo.
Which is the name of the episode. This was a Hughes Watkins script. Danae and Jonathan, or Jeremy, depending on which way you want to go, wrote on
Damn
this
it.
one. So I've never watched the update. I remember watching some of the old school DuckTales, and I just haven't watched the update, which is weird because I really love this cast, specifically David Tennant, who I love everything he does. But yeah, it was
It's
nice to see.
It's an amazing cast.
Yeah, it's.
I didn't even know this was a show.
You didn't know
I
they
didn't
had
realize-
rebooted it or whatever? Yeah.
No. I was excited to revisit it. I was excited because I watched the original, and of course the theme song is in my brain forever. It's really catchy. But I didn't really remember much about what the show was about.
Right.
I didn't remember there was adventures, or all I really remember is
Yeah, they're right behind you. I mean, they're DuckTales.
clever. Yeah, the lyrics to that song are really interesting too.
Yeah, when you
not-
really look at them.
That
not-
really
it's not-
is like legit. Like, I know you thought I was probably being silly, but this is probably my favorite theme song of all time. Like,
Do
I
you
don't
know the lyrics?
I mean, I know some of them. I screwed them up, but I don't know that I could just do them off the top of my head. But there's a great YouTube video, by the way, right when this started airing, they did a video to like promote the launch of it, where they showed the cast singing the song. So you have like Bobby Moynihan and David Tennant and guy I can't all of a sudden Abed. I can't think of his Danny Pudi. Is that his name?
Yeah, that's correct.
And then your boy is the other. I can't think of his name. The guy from Parks and Recreation that's got the comedy special on Netflix.
Oh yeah, Schwartz.
Yeah, Ben Schwartz.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a really cool cast, but that's a really fun video to watch if you. But what about the lyrics are interesting?
I didn't realize it was not ponytails or cottontails, no DuckTales. Ooh.
Not
Specifically.
ponytails or cottontails, no ducktails.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
exactly it.
But there is a female in this version, which is cool. No, I actually really enjoyed this. I was surprised. I watched the original, when I was younger and it was on, and I really enjoyed it. But I
Yeah.
was surprised at how like funny this was. Like it
Yeah.
was legit funny and very entertaining, and I might watch more because it was quite fun.
Yeah, you can tell that right from the very beginning, they really care about the material and they're trying to do their best by it. I think that the animation is really interesting too. It kind of has that newspaper look to it, where there's always some sort of a filter on the screen that gives it that feel that you're watching like a cartoon come to life on a page, which I think is an interesting art decision. But more than anything, it was the actors' delivery of their lines, and like Scrooge sounds perfect. Like it's just
like how has David Tennant never played that role before? Like he's like my Scrooge now. Like, after one episode, like I don't want to hear anybody else do Scrooge.
That's just
Ducky.
like me with Doctor Who. He's my doctor. I didn't want to see anybody else.
Out of the Doctor Who episodes I've seen, I haven't seen all of the doctors in their environment, but
Yeah.
he's definitely. I just like David Tennant. I mean,
He's so
anything
great.
he's in, I'm on board. So
The Ducky Bear mentioned that there should have been a sin removal for David Tennant's voice, an absolute beaut of a voice. And then there's some responses from Brent says, also a sin removal for the triplets' different voice. Triplets do not always sound the same for duck's sake. And that was my experience, like watching this, was like even the relationship between Huey, Dewey, and Louie, how they like freak out when they see Scrooge for the first time was so delightful to watch, because they didn't realize that Donald even knows Scrooge at the beginning of this episode. They don't know that they're related. And so they're like, oh, you're finally going to sell us. There's all these just little funny, like sarcastic, witty jokes that are just sort of like peppered in, and it's not trying too hard. It's just, it's like you're just dropped into their little world. And And then when they get that, that's probably my favorite part of the whole episode that we did. Well, I guess technically we should say when it was aired, they aired Woo, and then they aired
Escape to and from
Atlantis, which is the second half. So technically this is 2 episodes, and we decided to just do the first part,
which is what we've done with other 2 episodes per half hour.
It's a
kind
full
of shows.
episode. Like it has it just has
it's a full story. We do the
end.
stories, not necessarily full.
So calm down. That was a choice we made. We all talked about it. It was a very long discussion. We all watched it and decided this was probably the best route, follow our format or whatever. But anyway, there's this moment when Donald and Scrooge are talking for the first time in this episode, and just in the background are Huey, Dewey, and Louie doing these barrel rolls over each other in the car, just going, "Wow, wow," like just freaking out. And I just love that captive, wild child adventure energy that definitely carries through the entire episode. And then we get to meet Webby, who is psychotic. She's crazy. I can't wait to see more of her, because I will watch more of this one for sure.
Fun.
But
I didn't realize you guys liked it
your
this
daughter's
much.
like probably the right age for it too.
This would be great with her. I
Well,
mean, I'll
that's
have
really
to.
cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for me to watch this
Nice.
one. Although I watched some scenes probably half a dozen times, and finally started to understand Donald Duck. That was the worst part of it, is when on your first watch, it is so hard to understand.
You sent me like a text or something immediately. You were just like, "Oh my God, I cannot understand Donald."
So frustrating. It was in the scene when he's talking to Scrooge, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know what is being said right now. And there wasn't any closed caption available for the for what I was watching, so I couldn't like turn it on and listen or read and then begin to understand. It was just like watching it over and over and over again. I think, Jonathan, you said something like it was so weird that after a time you could start to understand him, and that was a little scary.
Yeah, I felt like I was going crazy, because now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, like I'm about to have a stroke because I can understand Donald Duck and I can smell the color purple. So
it was
a fun life, guys.
Nice.
Yeah.
I should mention Webby, by the way. Speaking of the cast, Webby is voiced by Kate. I do not know how to pronounce her last name. Like Makuchi. I don't know, but she's a wonderful comic.
Oh, really?
And just has a perfect voice for animation. I don't know if she's done a lot more, but I was realizing that watching this, like, oh, her voice is perfect.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's such good. It's I don't know. Some good voice acting is just so delightful.
Yeah, it's very delightful. Like, especially in today's climate too, it was like a perfect kind of show. And I feel like I got more out of this than like what I think a lot of people get out of like SpongeBob.
Yeah.
I think I kind of felt that same thing for this. And I will say, you're talking about like they knew what they were doing. Like it didn't even really feel like a reboot. Like from the first few minutes in, like it felt like its own thing, and like
fully realized. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't just making references and all that kind of stuff. It was
it does the thing I love on a show when it doesn't have to over-explain itself. There's just characters that are there, and they're there, and you even if you've never seen the original, you'll figure it out. There's going to be another episode. You'll figure out who Launchpad is, or why he's important, or why he, like their relationship. They just kind of start you in the middle and keep going. And I think maybe Disney of all content providers can do that, because it's a pretty good chance that any child is going to be familiar with at least one Disney character pretty well. I mean,
yeah,
really
because they
on.
did this and Muppet Babies. They rebooted Muppet Babies around the same time. And my daughter actually, this is probably why I didn't watch this one, because my daughter was still watching some animated stuff. I mean, I guess technically she still does, but this was still geared more towards a little younger than her. But she chose Muppet Babies over this for some reason. So I never really checked this out until now.
Well, maybe it's for the best, because if she kind of aligned herself with Webby, she'd be stabbing dolls to the wall. So.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Fair point.
I'm telling you, I like Webby, but I sat there and thought about her for a while after watching. I'm like, so her caretaker or her mother or whomever it is that maybe her aunt. I don't remember who the person is to her. The Beakley, Mrs. Beakley.
Yeah, I don't remember if it's like, I think it's
because it's
maybe
Mrs.
aunt,
Beakley,
but
but
then
it's
of
Webby.
some sort.
Webby Vanderquack is, so they have different last names. But anyhow,
yeah, well, different last names apparently don't matter, by the way, because I get yelled at about that. So
it's all fun. It's all good fun. But it's interesting because she's like locked in this place for her safety. So it kind of feels like, what a bummer. This kid can't go outside. She can't play. She doesn't have any friends. She's obsessed with like the world of Donald because she's got this whole like creepo board with all the strings attached to it. Yeah. So she's kind of stir crazy. There's dolls.
Scrooge.
Yeah, Scrooge.
Yeah.
There's dolls that are like literally stabbed to the walls. She kidnaps the boys and ties them upside down to do interrogation. Like, this girl she's not right. And I'm so curious about like, and they just kind of like brush away. Like, she's like, I want to have a hamburger is what I want. That's my most important thing.
What happened was she went to therapy and she was told that a good idea would be to like help people. And then she asked these people if they wanted her to take their picture.
Take a drink. Jonathan has referenced it out. Take a drink.
And
how weird would that be if an animated duck walked up and was like, "Hey, I'll take your picture."
Today I'm drinking water.
Yeah, it's a good thing to drink. I like drinking water. Since you guys wrote on it, I will get us into talking about the video itself. The animal sentience sin was great. It's such a true thing. Like, how do you determine which animals have sentience and which don't? Just how confusing cartoon nudity is in general is one of those things that's always worth sinning. Like Donald comes out of the shower and wraps a towel around his lower half, which he never clothes in his day-to-day life. So it's like, just these human things of, how we tend to hide our bodies or whatever are translated into this duck who also doesn't wear pants. So what's like, how does that work? Make up your mind. I like that.
I did like the explanation in that in the comments, like, well, he just came out of the shower, so he was drying off. That's why it was on his lower half.
Yeah, but he wrapped it around like a modesty wrap. It was a modesty wrap. It wasn't a drying wrap.
I'm trying to remember now. Do the other ducks wear pants? They do,
no.
right? Oh, they don't. Okay, so none of them do. It's not just Donald. Okay.
I don't know. It's
that's
very
right,
confusing.
We send that. Never mind.
It's very
I think
confusing.
Launchpad might wear pants. Yeah, Launchpad
he has like a
wears
suit
pants.
on or something.
Gyro or Giro, I don't remember how his name is pronounced. I'm just looking at some pictures. He wears pants. Mrs. Beakley wears pants.
Yeah.
But that's...
So Webby probably does too then, right?
No.
Or she has like a dress on or something.
Della Duck, who we haven't seen yet, wears pants. Yes, Webby is wearing a skirt.
Let's transition this into the patriarchy, shall we? So is there any female in this cartoon universe that isn't clothed upper half and lower half? Because that seems to be a common thing where it's like, well, for the female cartoon characters, we better put clothes all over them. But when it's like Donald Duck or whoever, they can just walk around pantsless.
But it's just Donald Duck. I mean, Mickey Mouse wears pants. Goofy wears pants. I mean, it's always just been Donald for some reason was the one. I don't know. I don't know what that was just a choice.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. I hadn't thought about it until right now. So if that's
somewhere
true,
someone has done like a theoretical study on cartoon nudity, and I need to.
And I believe the character, like if you go to like Disney or something, I'm almost positive the character has like shorts on or something, but they probably have to do that. But I mean, it's a costume though, so they really don't.
Who knows? Who knows? So I liked that, and please, huge thank you to whoever pointed out the open cereal box. That is probably should actually be one of the major sins when you list out the carnal sins. Leaving your cereal box open should be amongst that list.
I just realized though that was what that tweet was about. Did you see that tweet about like listening to BTS?
Yes.
Today and getting what was said last, getting the in joke.
But we also had the scary Donald one on this one, and we also referenced that,
true.
right?
But you did mention cereal last week, right? So it could have been either one of those.
Could have been either one.
So I like that, and I liked the why is Scrooge a McDuck but Donald's just a duck.
Me too.
I thought that was a good observation.
Honestly, and I rewrote that. It started off more along the lines of the whole idea that their last name would be Duck, because who goes by human, which actually in my comments, I have a really funny comment about that. But that was and then I kind of started going, and then I started thinking about McDuck versus Duck. And yeah, all that's, I mean, I get that. That's fine. I mean, I don't know that I didn't look into it that hard because who knows that kind of stuff, but I guess a lot of people do. But
there is a reason.
I still just thought it was odd. Like it was just kind of one of those just silly, funny funny things to point out.
Yeah.
Like we do.
And I will finish with the if people can make dice out of Arctic moose poop, then then the dragon gold would be priceless.
Can I just say thank you for redoing that one, because I had to rewrite it once I realized that I left out a very important element of that one.
Yeah.
I forgot to say that it was selling dice made from poop from the Arctic Swedish moose. I accidentally wrote that it was sell dice made from Arctic Swedish moose, which was a very different, very, very different set of dice. But there are literally dice that are made from the poop of the Arctic Swedish moose, and you can purchase them, and they're very expensive. And I was actually messaged after this video was edited by somebody, and they were like, they didn't realize that was a thing. They like dice. They're like dice collector style. So now they realize that they want it. And I have to admit, I kind of do too. Like rolling shit just sounds fun. Anyway.
Yeah. Yep.
Just the weird things I know about because of being in the D&D community, I guess.
Yep. Jonathan, what about you? What are some other things that you wanted to mention?
The bong versus gong thing was hilarious, and especially like Danae wrote it well, and then Aaron read it really well.
Yes,
too.
you did. It was so funny.
Then
gong.
I'm so glad we were able to keep it's funny because it's a garage. There was an issue there too where we were getting like fragments and all kinds of stuff, and the editors found out a good way to do it because we both really liked that scene and didn't want to cut it. So
yeah,
I thought that was really funny. This was a weird one to like try to figure out how to edit some things. You already mentioned the plastic bag and the last name. Those are the other two things. I will say, talking about people saying we should have given sends off for things. I did originally have a send off for the theme song, but then they didn't actually play the theme song in this episode.
Right.
And Danae was like, so that's kind of weird. I was like, yeah, it is. So then I actually ended up giving a send because they didn't play it. So that worked out even better.
Yep.
It was a way to show that we love it while also sinning, which is super on brand for us.
Yeah, I did feel like, and I didn't think about it until after Aaron read it, I did feel like it could have been taken, like we were saying, no, trust us that it's not in the episode. When I meant, like, believe me, it's the greatest theme song of all time. You don't have to check.
Right.
But it still worked. I mean, it was fine. But I really liked getting that in there because that's the best theme song ever. So
except for X-Files, but, semantics.
But the X-Files doesn't have, like, lyrics. The
Which...
best theme song with lyrics, not best score.
I
guess that technically is a theme song.
What was that theme song from?
No, there's a lot of great theme songs. I mean, Cheers.
Chips.
Oh my God, we're stopping right now.
No
You said
idea
Cheers and
is.
Chips, and I don't even know what's happening.
Knight Rider music.
I love the Chips theme song. Okay, Danae, what about you in this video?
I don't even know what you're
Frasier.
talking about. What is Chips?
It's a show.
I just did it perfectly. I just did a rendition. I just did a perfect rendition.
What does it stand for? It's California
Highway Patrol. HI is from Highway. It's the HI from Highway.
Okay.
The I is lowercase in the title.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so it was just a cop show, like in the
they were on
early
motorcycles.
80s, late
It was
70s.
Ponch and John.
It was Eric Estrada.
Yeah.
And the other guy.
Yeah.
He's like the other guy from Wham. I can't remember his name.
I love how you guys forget that I don't even know the names of actors, so I don't know what's happening.
Chips is
I'll
a little
just-
before
I'll
your
Google
time,
it.
so
I'll Google it.
Bum, 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 bum.
that's right.
So
No.
good.
That is
so good.
now I remember it.
It's
Chips
so
is a little
good.
before your time because you're bleep years old.
All right, Danae, what about you from this video?
Oh my gosh, this looks ridiculous. Look at them.
Oh, Chips?
Look at those
it's
Chips
insane.
guys.
It's insane. It was on for like 9 years.
Well, yeah, I
But
recognize
it's
those guys.
terrible.
Yeah. I recognize this. That's so interesting. Okay, sorry. Back to the sins. I like the keeping swords in your swimming pool.
Mm-hmm.
Just the idea that he would just jump in and be able to swim, but then there's also massive weapons. Like, I wanted to write even like a longer sin, just thinking about how this would work. Like, does he open his eyes under the quote unquote, coin water, and can he see? Because, if you're in water, you can see through water, but it's coins. So then you don't even know where you're swimming. So if you're just swimming really fast and then you run into a sword, that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
So
And that's
how
gold
does that work?
too, right? It's gold that he's jumping into. So
Yeah.
he should have concussions out
He
the
should have,
wazoo.
yeah. There's lots of problems there, but anyway, pointing out that Webby had installed a clapper for one specific spotlight for dramatic effect. I loved the joke about the Smarties being the devil's work of bitter, chalky, choking, hazard pseudo candy.
They are.
And then in the comments, learning that Smarties are also like an M&M.
In
Did
Canada?
you see that?
I think in Canada, right? Or somewhere
Oh
else.
no, I didn't see that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
apparently Smarties are like here in the U.S., that's the perfect description. They're just like this chalky candy that.
So they're like a chocolate thing in Canada?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
That is interesting.
I don't
No,
know if
did
it was
not know
Canada,
that.
though.
That's just my memory. It's probably wrong.
I don't know.
I have
Canada
to-
has a lot of cool sounding candies, though. I've listened to podcasts where it's Canadian hosts, and they'll talk about like the chocolate bars and stuff there, and they sound really good.
Yeah, there's something called Smarties, and they definitely look exactly like M&Ms. I'm looking at a picture of them right now.
Yeah, no,
so
that is not what they are here, unfortunately.
you can get a tube of them on Amazon if you want to try them.
Yeah,
I
the
just wanna
Smarties
let you know.
here are gross, and like they choke you and dry your mouth out.
They're
and-
basically like candy hearts without the romance.
Yeah, but candy hearts have a weirder flavor.
Wow,
I prefer
they're pretty
Smarties
similar.
to candy hearts.
Yeah, I'd rather not have it. I mean, that's always like the cheap candy, right, on Halloween,
Yeah.
right? The assholes that give you Smarties. Like, screw them.
Or those
At least
weird
it's better than the
maple-
orange. It's better than the random candy that's wrapped in the orange and black, like that generic.
Yeah,
Oh,
like the
yeah, what
generic
is
maple
that?
candy or whatever that is. Yeah.
What is that?
It's like maple peanut
it's
butter
in-
or something.
It's in
Gross.
the UK, in Europe, Canada, South Africa.
Everywhere but here. It's like football.
Seriously,
Yeah.
the Smarties house is like just a step above the people that give you pencils.
Yes, exactly.
I'm
you're
actually
trick-or-treating.
I'm trying to look up like
Hey guys,
Where-
remember when you could trick or treat? Remember that? That was
Remember that?
fun.
I was trying to look up like where Smarties are sold around the world, and I may have just been looking up the names of countries in general. So, me just reading the names of countries. Sorry, I thought that was funny. To get back on track, though, my last one that I wrote down was one that Jonathan wrote about the Post-it notes. Like, do you even know how to dibs, bro? I loved that so much because my grandmother is having our family do that right now, kind of
Yeah.
before she passes away. She's having us dibs all of her stuff. And so I'm just imagining like walking in with just these colored Post-its, just sticking it all over things and not even writing my name on them. And I
Yeah, or
couldn't
you
figure
like
out how to
you get
sit it.
assigned a color.
Yeah, and I couldn't figure out like the angle on it, and then you just like I think you said it last week. You're like, and then Aaron just writes this, or someone just writes this joke, and you're like, well, fuck, there it is. And yours is like, do you even know how to dibs, bro? I'm like, oh fuck, well, there's the joke. So I loved that one. It made me laugh.
Very nice. Let's move on to music video sins. Taylor Swift "Cardigan" is the song, and a brand new one from Taylor, who surprise dropped an album with like a day's notice or something. What do you guys think of this song? What do you think of Taylor and in this song and kind of the stuff she's doing right now?
I actually listened to the album,
I did too.
which I usually don't
What?
do. I know. I think I just get curious about Taylor because she does things that sound very similar, but then she does different musical elements to it. She's tried a lot of different genres on, so she's kind of fearless in that way. And I like folk music, and so this being like a more folk album, I was just kind of curious what Taylor's take on folk sounded like. And I also was reading about her kind of going, usually she really thinks a lot about how she's going to release her content and release her material. And this time she's like, no, I'm just going to do it immediately because life is short and you never know. And I think there's just something about in this time that we're in with the pandemic and just a lot. The world is just a really heavy place. And when you start to read the news from anywhere you are in the world, there's just very heavy things happening everywhere. And so for her to, as an international artist, go, I'm not trying to figure out the best marketing thing here. I'm not trying to figure out the best time strategically. I'm just going to release my art while I'm still on the planet. I thought that was an interesting kind of like revelation.
And to be fair, she's lucky enough to where she doesn't really have to worry about those things. I mean, her name
Right.
is such a brand that and that people might not like it. That's always a thing. But I don't think she's going to have an issue. Like she's not going to have an issue selling it. So
Right.
it's good for her.
But she's also someone like, and I can kind of relate to that though. In that way of even if you don't have to, that you still think that way. And I think she's just really kind of tuned into that.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it's not an album I'm going to listen to a ton. There were a couple songs I really enjoyed. I wish I could remember the names of them off the top of my head. I'll try to pull it up and see if
Was one called Cardigan?
No. I'm okay with this song.
Damn. Sorry.
This song is okay. I like the musicality of it. I don't mind how she sings it. It's just it wasn't one that like grabbed my soul, you know?
I think it's very poetic. I think that's what I like about the way this one is written and some of her other stuff is I think she has an understanding of how to construct phrases that feel musical, that feel like a song.
Yeah.
I think this one has a lot of those. So, but it's very simple, and I don't fault it for its simplicity.
I liked it, and I enjoyed the album. But I'm like Danae. I'm not a huge folk music person, but I really enjoyed the album. I liked her take on folk music, and I was just thinking though, because and then a few days later, Alanis Morissette released her album, which is freaking amazing, by the way.
Oh, I haven't listened to it yet.
Oh, it's so good. It's it's so good. And then I was thinking about Fiona Apple released that album a few weeks ago that was really good. And then Hayley Williams from Paramore, she released a solo album this year that was really good. And I was just thinking, I was like, man, these veteran female singers are fucking bringing it in 2020.
Yeah.
And I am on board. And I know Taylor's young, but I mean, she's been around forever. I mean, I feel like she would be considered a veteran just because she's been around for, at least probably 3 decades at this point, right? Mm-hmm. This will be her 3rd decade, I guess. She's 31, I think, because that album 1989, I believe that's the year she was born. So
yes, it is.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm not creepy. I remember that album. It was funny though with her age though, because she has that, because I worked on this one a little bit, and that line about where she's talking about getting felt up, that threw me off because she doesn't really ever sing about something like that. And I'm like, wait, aren't you 15? I'm so confused right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there was a few songs that stood out. I'm just reading the lyrics, so I would love to go back and listen, but some that stood out to me was Mirror Ball, This Is Me Trying, and Invisible String. I think I remember when I was listening to it.
Mirror Ball was the one I really liked, I think.
It's a really that one I remember for sure is one of the ones I really liked. But and I think her lyrics are profound. There's just something about, and I don't know, she's good with her delivery, so she's a solid artist that I really like.
Yeah.
So I immediately went to watch her Cardigan video when it came out, and I loved it because it's just obviously beautiful and fantasy, and unique. Like the shot of her at the piano where the piano becomes part of the waterfall. It's just visually stunning. I don't know that I vibe with the lyrics of Cardigan. I understand kind of what's being said, but at the same time, it's just, like I said, it didn't speak to me, but I loved the music video. I thought it was really
being
cool.
said, Aaron?
Yeah, Aaron, tell us about the lyrics.
No. I was getting ready to turn it on today because she mentioned it, and I wanted to hear what she, what she took out of it. I mean, because obviously, by now, as we've done this, that's my favorite part about music is kind of what is the message? What's it saying? How are they saying it?
The rumor is that it's about her. Is it her current boyfriend that she's? I don't know.
Joe Alwyn or somebody?
Yeah, that's who she's still with, right?
See, I don't know about any of that. I try to take the lyrics kind of
I know
from a more universal approach kind of thing.
That's what kind of everybody. But people always assume too she's talking about either an ex or a current boyfriend because
people
she's
love
had
that
a lot of
stuff.
songs that have done that. So,
but Danae, what you said? You understand kind of what it's talking about. What did you take from it? That didn't quite land with you, perfectly or whatever.
Honestly, I think it's supposed to be about finding somebody who doesn't reject you.
Yeah. No, there's definitely that element to it.
That's the easy on the nose one. It's another song about just a love story to me. So I don't know. It was too much love story makes me feel sick.
Just too much sugar.
It's yeah. Now this isn't so sugary. There's some pop songs. I can think of an artist in particular who, when I hear his music, I literally it makes me literally feel sick.
Yeah.
Because it's just so fucking happy and love.
Oh, I was gonna make a joke that you were talking about Marilyn Manson, but then you said that part, so
but
never mind.
But that's my own issues.
Yeah.
So I think songs like this, it's I don't know what she's trying to say, and I immediately kind of want to tune it out a little bit, if that makes sense.
I will tell you that if you, because Aaron's going to give the correct answer.
No,
but
I'm
my
really not.
takeaway from this was just it was all about comfort. I mean, because that's what a cardigan is. Although cardigans really aren't that comfortable. I don't really get, but that's the way she was making it sound like. It's like an old cardigan. I just put it on and I feel safe and secure, and it was just kind of that comfortable stage of a relationship is where what I got out of it. But that's just the things that stuck out to me at least. And then apparently she got felt up at some point. I don't know. That was, that happened. And she was playing a dirty piano. That happened because I hate algae. So that was grossing me out.
Oh, no. I was all into it. I'm like, yes, step out in nature.
Like, why are you touching that piano?
I'm over here like, embrace your druid self.
Like
Magic in nature.
You are sitting on a moldy piano bench.
Okay.
Like this,
Aaron,
basically like a slip. Like, I mean, there's like very little, there's very little material protecting her from that.
Aaron,
algae.
tell us what the song is about, man.
Yeah, I think it's a little abstract, which is part of what I love about it. But it does seem to me about the idea of relationships being confusing in one way, in that they are very comforting, but they also can be dismissed so easily. And so there's something about relationships that feel needed, but almost superfluous at the same time. And I don't know. I thought it was poetic, but it's this idea that we go through phases with our clothing, and sometimes relationship feels the same way. It's like you said that I was your favorite, and we have a cardigan or a shirt or whatever, like, this is my favorite, and then someday it's just sitting under the bed, and it's like, what happened to that? So there's kind of that, where was the magic lost? Where did it change? There's a longing to it. But it speaks to one element of love that I think is real, but it's only one element. And so anytime you zoom in on one element of a relationship, I think you're going to find how, flawed that is. And that's, so and again, as somebody who just celebrated 25 years of marriage, there is an element of comfort that you find with somebody where it definitely feels different, but it's still love, right? Like, it's still commitment, it's still enjoyment, it's, there's joy there, but it's not necessarily the same as the, at the beginning, where it was very much about, what's the word I'm looking for? The adrenaline.
Discovering.
Yeah, there's that adrenaline of discovery, that adrenaline of new love, kind of thing that gets replaced with, I think, something that's deeper and more meaningful, which is partnership. And that's, so anyhow, it kind of focuses on that confusion, if I'm reading it right.
Well, it gets to where you work, if it's a good relationship or a great relationship, it gets to where you just work as a unit, right? You work as a team. You're just like a cogs in a machine. And I think for some people, they look at that as boring, I guess. But for people that are in it, like us,
and
it's kind of beautiful, and it's nice, right? It's like I don't know. I don't know how to explain it without it also sounding boring. But also part of the problem is you're putting that cardigan under the bed. You need to hang that shit up. Like, you're not putting a nice cardigan sweater under the bed.
Right.
Come on now, people.
Right.
Hang it up. These things called coat hangers.
Yes.
Or the clothes hangers.
Yeah,
Put
exactly.
it in a closet.
Get it in a closet.
Or you can have it wadded up in the back of Danae's car.
Yeah, as somebody who has done the dirty clothes, clean clothes piles on the bed, you sleep in between, and if you get cold, you use the clean clothes as a blanket person.
Oh my God,
personally
you just gave me a nightmare for like 3 nights.
All right, let's quickly move into the video. Let's quickly move into the video. Let's move into the video.
Growing up.
We're gonna lose Jonathan.
No, it's perfectly fine. Look, these are my problems, not yours.
Oh, no.
They
That's
sound
a
like
problem.
Danae's problems.
That's a problem.
It doesn't sound like your problems.
No. What I meant by that is I'm saying it is wise to learn now to hang up your clothes. It's a much better life.
It makes it easier to find them, too.
Yeah, for real.
Danae, what were some of your thoughts from the video?
I forgot to write any of them down, which is great. I love that part of
Well, why don't
what
we
I
start
do,
with
but
Jonathan then?
I'm so glad Barrett brought up the presenting your song titles in lowercase, because that pisses me off to no end. I was mad I didn't even think about it. That was one of those moments where I'm like, why didn't I think about that?
Yeah.
When I was submitting my stuff to you. I don't know why that irritates me, but it really does, because I don't think it's for any reason.
No.
Unless you guys are more musically inclined than I am, and more artistry about stuff like that.
Well, who was it? Is it E.E. Cummings that used to do that in her poetry? Where
Maybe, that sounds
where
right.
where she just disregarded capitalization and other kind of formal things. And so I think there is an element of artisticness that comes with, I don't have to follow your rules, and this will be
I'm sure like when 21 Pilots decided to lowercase their band name, they were like, we are like the 2000s of E comedy.
Yes, I'm sure that's exactly what they were thinking.
Also, Barrett did write in his thoughts on this one too.
Oh, why don't we start with Barrett
read
then?
his stuff.
Yeah,
I don't want to steal anything.
Let's hit Barrett up.
Barrett said cardigan, or should I say cardigan? He just changed the capitalization.
Yeah.
Is a fucking earworm. I can't get it out of my head, even after a week of listening. It was hard finding Sins for this one since she did the video super responsibly. The lyrics are so good, and the song itself is dynamite. I did enjoy the sin removal, which I had to get out really quickly so I could go back to my asshole nitpicky ways. The script had help from Jonathan and Danae, which was welcome and appreciated. I think Danae wrote something about a wet t-shirt thing that I didn't make it because we don't do that ribald stuff around here on this channel. Is it ribald or ribald? Is it ribald? What? I don't know how to say that word. Do you know how to say that word? R-I-B, ribald?
I would assume it's
ribald.
I guess it could go either way.
I just listened. Ribald. It refers to his sexual matters in an amusingly coarse or irreverent way. Now listen, I just want to let you know if you're confused. He's being sarcastic.
Well, and we don't ever talk about sex.
As true to the video's form, when he's like, no, tell me more about this sexual stuff. But yes, Jonathan and I, we both had actually watched this one, and we just sent in little like bullet point ideas for sins, and that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
I did find my notes, by the way.
Yeah, so I guess Aaron, you should go because we wrote on it.
Yeah, that's right.
Aaron?
You both wrote on this. Apparently, I didn't know that. Maybe I should know that.
We did. We just sent some like, hey, these are some things we noticed. We were just being helpful.
So yes, I will mention high heels on cobblestone. I thought was really funny. Which now I'm wondering if it was Danae because she sent notes on this. I was like, any of us can write that sin, but one of us probably has experience at least. If this is an audition for Naked and Afraid, I thought was really funny. As someone who binged the entirety of the Naked and Afraid library over the course of 2 months, and now loves that show. Murder on the Cardigan Express made me laugh, and then inviting Taylor to the Avengers franchise, I thought was really funny there at the end. So no, I thought this was really good. It was really fun.
What are you got in your notes up, Danae?
Yeah, I the super fast delivery of the one send-off that Barrett mentioned was my top favorite. Just like listening to him quickly get through a compliment was genuinely great. The no fair, that's how Ben Folds plays as she steps like her wet foot steps onto the keys, poofing the fuck out of there and tailoring into the screen. I like that.
Awesome.
Or tailoring into the camera or whatever it was.
And the only other thing I had was, and just like the piano's taking a massive leak. That was one where I was like, I just told him, I was like, there's something here, but I don't have it. Like, I can't think of anything funny. And then, of course, you or Helm just wrote, the piano had to take a massive leak. I'm like, yeah, that would have been easy. I didn't come up with that. And then just going off, we were talking about the ex-boyfriend thing. Do you always have to keep pictures of your ex-boyfriends around the house? Was really funny because it was like some old picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, the comments were certainly wanted to point out that was her grandpa. And it's like,
right.
Yes, we understand. It's just a joke.
It's a joke, guys.
It's okay. It's all right. Yeah, it's a great video. I really loved it. Let's move into CinemaSins. Cabin Fever is where we started the week. This is an Atkinson-Watkins script. Chris and Jonathan writing on this one. Let's hear what Chris had to say about Cabin Fever. Hi, guys. I'm Chris, and here's what I have to say about Cabin Fever.
That's really good. Keep going.
I think this movie is amazing. I'm an Eli Roth fan. He's the greatest. He's a solid human being who I respect and love.
And that's how Aaron got fired. Oh, shoot. Okay. Chris wrote, Cabin Fever is a movie I remember kind of liking because it didn't take itself too seriously. Upon this viewing, however, I'm not sure it's silly enough. And the flesh-eating virus that the entire plot revolves around doesn't truly kick in until midway through the movie. The film feels like it wants to be Twin Peaks whenever the main characters wander away from the cabin, but the main characters on their own are pretty awful people. Could have used some more of the local flavor throughout and got to the virus sooner. I think my favorite thing during the writing of the sins here was to pick on Ryder Strong's character. He's set up as the good guy, but he does some stuff that veers into dark territory with very little prompting. So my favorite sins that I wrote all involved him, and I'm paraphrasing here. Now that Paul's fallen into contaminated water, I can freely say that I'm very glad that Paul's fallen into the contaminated water.
That was my favorite sin. Easily.
Yeah.
I had written something there too, but I was like, oh no, it is definitely yours, because he was nice enough to put mine in as an alternate. I'm like, yeah, you don't have to do that. Like, we're going with yours.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, you're good.
Oh, God bless them when they do that. They put the alt side by side, and you can just see how puny you are.
Hey guys, here's the choice for this sin. Either my sin that is full of genius and wit and beautiful observation, or your crappy 3-word sin that means nothing. Which do you choose?
It's like going to a fancy restaurant and being shown like something like a beautiful style of steak, and then like this bottom sirloin or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah, like a little flank steak versus like a porterhouse.
It's like a ribeye.
Yeah.
You can have a ribeye, or you can have this piece of burnt ends from the barbecue place next door.
We'll throw in an asparagus. Yeah, no, that was easily my favorite sin. That was so funny, and then the way Jeremy read it and just everything about it. And I don't know, did he have anything else to say? I don't want to interrupt it.
He does a little bit, but I just wanted to say what's great about getting used to this job, though, is hearing Chris or Barrett or Jeremy or even you two, when I write with you guys and there's an alt where it's like pretty obvious which one's better and it's not mine, is that it's more like the thought is never mine is better and I want you to see it. It's like, hey, is there something here? Or, hey, we wrote the same thing. We have different styles. What do you want to do? It really genuinely is collaborative. Chris I don't think that they ever have that negative intention.
Oh, no.
We're joking.
I remember when Barrett and I were... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say we're joking about it. I just didn't want people to think that's actually the intent.
We're absolutely joking about it. No, but Barrett even mentioned early on when I was collaborating with him on music video, like when he would put an alt in and I would say, let's go with yours. He would say, just say first or second, because he's like, I don't remember half the time which of us wrote which one. But also, like you said, it's kind of more of a collaboration anyways, because like he'll add stuff to one or,
Yeah.
And so it gets kind of confusing. So
yeah.
We 100% joking around. But no, but his was like, it was ridiculous that he put mine on there. Like, I mean, it was insane how much better his was, and I think he knew it.
There's something really cool though too about seeing how many alts that you can get. Like I recently wrote with Chris on one, and we had like I think 5 or more alts. And to me, it's like, ooh, that means I'm thinking like the narrator, because we got really close to the same idea here. Mm-hmm. And on one of them, he did combine them a little bit, or even do like an also kind of a situation. So that it's cool to see one of your sins make it to the alt position. It's like there's just being cut, and then there's like alt where you have a chance, but you're still going to go with the other sin. And then there's the ones where you have to kind of go, I like mine.
Yeah, well,
please don't hate me. I like mine.
And a lot of it has to do with flow too. That's what I think a lot of people probably don't realize that aren't writing these, is that sometimes you go with like the shorter one because you've had like 2 or 3 really long ones before it, or you go with the longer one because you've had 2 or 3 really quick ones before
it.
Sometimes you don't want the bone-in ribeye. Sometimes you want the hot dog.
That's right.
There you go.
And that's fine.
It's fine.
He continues by saying
neon mac and cheese.
He continues by saying, I also love a sin where I casually say he's being a dick, and all he's doing is looking somewhere off camera in the middle of a series of edits that go from one character to another. The sin is about how the movie is edited and the fact there's no sense of geography in the movie. So the reaction shots that take place when there are gunshots in the film don't make any sense. But I managed to call Paul a dick in the middle of it, and that makes me very happy.
Chris and I are like on the exact same page with this movie, and it was one of those scripts which was really cool that we ended up writing it together. Although a lot of the times if it's a horror movie, it's me and Chris. But this one worked out really well because we both like literally everything in there we thought the same. So we had like similar sins, and we were both like thinking the same thing, like about that, like the gunshot. We both had things about that, like why are they hearing the gunshot? So it was just kind of cool. It kind of almost these never write themselves, but this one just flowed so well with the combination, I guess.
Have you seen Cabin Fever, Aaron?
I have not.
Okay.
I harbor very little interest in seeing anything Eli Roth has done. That
good
is
call.
that is just. I mean, it's a taste thing, I think, and it's. I don't know. It's the whole torture porn aesthetic of let's see how gross we can get and how
That's like Cabin Fever, though.
From my understanding, watching this video, this feels more silly and ridiculous than I thought it would be.
No.
So
He did Hostel that's kind of the
Right.
what started the whole like what people call torture porn.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't like Eli Roth. This might be one of his better movies, but that's not. I still don't like it. House of the Clock on Its Walls is probably his best movie, which is odd that he directed that.
Yeah, that is one of his I've
but-
seen. So yeah,
But Cabin Fever is definitely better than like Hostel and Hostel 2 and
Green
I haven't
Inferno.
seen Green Inferno, but I will never watch that. I think it's better than like Death Wish. He did the Death Wish remake
yeah.
with Bruce Willis, but it's so weird. It's a weird movie. I saw it in the theater when it came out. I never watched it again until now. So this is the second time I had seen it because I didn't really like it when it came out. And like Chris, I was surprised that like I just always remembered the virus aspect of it, but he's right. It takes forever to get to that, and you think it's going to be like 4 different types of movies before it even gets to that point. Like it's kind of a slasher movie, and there's even like some possible. They even kind of like hint at maybe even some supernatural stuff at times. It's weird. It's like it almost feels like he thought he was never going to get to direct a movie again, so he was going to put in everything he ever liked about horror movies in one movie.
Yeah.
And it just kind of becomes like this crazy, like almost like split personalities, you know, and, you know, yeah, but I've never really been a big fan of just his style, and his sense of humor doesn't really abide with mine. Like the only time I think I really liked him was he was in Inglourious Bastards. Like, I think he gives a pretty good performance in that movie.
Right.
I don't think he's untalented. Like anyone that gets to make movies on a studio level, I mean, they've obviously got something, you know, going on, but he just doesn't vibe with me. I don't enjoy the torture movies. I don't enjoy body horror very much. So just all this kind of stuff mixed together. Yeah. And then, like Chris said, these characters are awful people. Like there's no one to even remotely root for, which a lot of people will say that's a horror movie, but there are still usually in the best horror movies, there are characters you root for, you know? Like, I mean,
well, yeah,
there's something. These are all just awful people that, you know, you're just like, I don't care.
You're telling me there's no one to root for in Get Out? I mean,
yeah,
you know,
exactly. Or even something like Scream. You're not rooting for Sydney to survive that.
Yeah.
So, but no, this is just awful people. I will say I love Jordan Ladd and Serena Vincent play the 2 female leads, and I really like both of them. I feel it's unfortunate that neither one of them got to do too much after this, although they have had a lot of movies, but like they haven't really they never really broke out, I would say, in anything. Jordan Ladd actually just a few months after this came out did Club Dread, which is really funny, and she's like a big part of why that's funny. Yeah. But here they're just kind of wasted, and there's just it's just sitting around watching awful people do awful things for 90 minutes.
Danae, I was curious, did you even watch this video? Because sometimes with the horror movies, you won't even watch them.
Well, I saw Chris's comment about flesh-eating bacteria and you know, things like that, and I was like, okay, I don't have any understanding of what this is. I don't know what cabin fever is. So then I went to a spoiler website and read about it, and I was like, oh, this is like a film where people, you know, like a murder kind of a thing. But I didn't realize how dark it was until I watched the video. I don't know that I should have, but I did.
Yeah, I
mean, we did. We kept most of the gore. We cut around a lot of the gore. And actually, I'll be honest though, it is gory. Like, do not get me wrong, but I remembered it being so much worse than it was.
It was pretty bad. I'd never seen the movie, and I watched the video, and I was like, oh, yeah. If I had watched this early enough, I might have warned Danae off this one. Just because even though you blur stuff, your mind fills in the blanks sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's just
you can tell what's going on with that
within
dog.
the first 10 seconds. It's just like, fuck, okay, great. Well, I wasn't going to eat this anyway, you know?
Yeah.
So I did watch it. I regret it, but I wrote down my sins. And
let's talk about it.
I think in the future, I probably should just maybe ask more questions.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's okay. There seems to be a lot about this that's sinnable. And so, you know, true to when we've talked about stuff like this in the past, it is kind of fun to watch the Sins video where it makes it lighter than it would be if I was in the theater watching it. Do you know what I mean? Like it makes it more digestible almost too. watch the Sins video rather than try to watch the content or anything like that. So, but yeah, I would never, ever, ever, ever watch this movie. I was a little bit confused about what was happening, but I think in general, I kind of by the end understood. Even like the spoiler website that I went to was just like one paragraph explaining the entire movie, so it was not in great detail.
Yeah.
There was just a list at the end that was like, here's the people and how they died and in what order. So, and then there was like a paragraph that sort of explained a little bit of what was going on, but there's multiple characters to kind of keep track of. So watching the movie, or the video rather, kind of helped me a little bit understand what was going on. I did like the Redneck Brigade personally, being from a part of the United States where we definitely have what you would call a redneck. I liked that. The holy shit, this store sells hoop cheese was awesome. Was exciting to me, because that's one of those things where you have to trust, because I couldn't see the sign, but I know that whomever wrote that must have watched it and like been able to zoom in and kind of read it, which was really fun. When I wrote this is funny. Okay, I'll stay, but I dry hump in my sleep. ... And then Danae's note is, wait, did Barrett write on this one?
No, he did not.
Nope. When Marcy shaves her legs, I was so disturbed by that. And like, there's so much talk about shaving too. Like, as a woman who has felt like it's important to shave before important events, whether it's going on a date or before sexy time with a guy or whatever, that's one thing, and that's annoying. And it shouldn't even matter. Body hair is body hair, and I've changed my opinion on body hair significantly as I've grown up and realized how much it's a strange thing we require of women to be sexy. But that's another topic entirely. But then to shave your legs when your legs are covered in wounds. Like, who would do that?
Well, but the sin is that apparently she's surprised by it, and she shouldn't be, because they would have had to develop when she was applying the lather.
There's shaving cream all over her. It's not like they just appeared instantly.
Right, yeah.
Or that when
I didn't remember. That's kind of that movie's like I even made the joke that it's the money, like the money shot. You know,
right.
That's kind of the scene that most people probably take from that movie. And you know 100% that Eli Roth was just like, how gross would it be to show somebody shaving their leg? I mean, there's no logic to why she's doing it.
Right.
And there were a few things about that scene. Serena Vincent is that actress. She plays Marcy. Marcy is actually is the one that's actually kind of smart most of the time.
Is she the one that was in the canoe?
Yeah. And she's like, when everybody starts freaking out when they find out about they could get sick and all the guys are being like, like wusses and stuff, she like grabs the gun and she's like, grow a pair, she's like taking charge and trying to go get help. But then they do something like that where she's like in the middle of all this. She decides to like have sex with her boyfriend's best friend or whatever, or one of his friends, even though that's kind of explained. It's she does the whole thing about if you're on a plane and it's about to go down, why not just go ahead and fuck the guy next to you? And then she decides and then after that she decides to shave her legs. I mean, none of that made any sense. But in my mind, I thought it was she that's when she discovered that she had the issue. But then Chris brought up a good point that clearly those had to already be there.
Yeah.
And that they had to have been. He's right.
And you wouldn't, you would never scrape a razor. No. It's not like you're trying to cut your skin when you're shaving.
Yeah.
But you know what? The tension of that moment was real, and I think that's what was being gone for, and I think it worked because it's a reveal to the audience. But yeah, if you think about it, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, you're not, and I mean, not that I wanted to see this, but you're also like, if she was discovering it then, like skin would have been peeling back, right? Like, not that
Maybe.
I want to see that.
Right,
but
when
that's
she
what
walks
would have
out,
happened.
when she walks out later, her legs are all bloody and stuff.
Oh
it's
yeah,
just,
like she has no skin left on her legs.
Yeah, super weird. They've done it twice, and then just been like, okay, but in what way? Was like twice since you've got here, or like twice in a month?
Right.
There was just really good pacing on this. I think that would be really hard for me. Not that I would ever write on a horror movie, but like I think finding the humor to pace for me what would be really traumatic to watch. I think you guys do that really, really well. Like in the sin about like, why is he pouring honey on himself? Like,
yeah,
just the delivery.
Was Chris, yeah.
The delivery of how Jeremy like said it.
Yeah.
But it's like he was horrified that there's honey being poured on himself. Just those things are really funny. They kind of like lighten it.
Yeah, there's just so many awkward moments like that in this movie, and those are always a blast to have when you're trying to write a sin script, because then it makes it a little easier to be like, wait, why is this woman humping a pillow in the middle of the night in the woods?
But then there's also, you guys did a good job too of being like, there's blood all over the more like mechanical parts of it. There's blood all over the truck. Why doesn't
was ridiculous.
Why isn't anyone going for a doctor right now? You guys are like hanging out while your friend is outside. Like,
where they put her, they couldn't have just left her in her bedroom. No, they had to put her in a
like
shed.
Driven somewhere if the truck is working. So those things for me, I thought you guys did a good job of like balancing that. There were a couple of pandemic jokes that I thought were funny. There's no way that this contagious person is coming in here, and then it's like things I've said for 5 months, and then later on there's like a herd immunity joke that I just kind of smirked and thought that those were pretty clever. I know I have a lot of notes. I'm almost done. You guys said something about jump scares, and do they actually work? Like, does anyone do this? I had a jump scare watching the video. So yes, there are people.
Jump scares can work. That specific one though was just really silly. No, that's the thing.
No, it worked.
Yeah, I think people make fun of jump scares and act like they're cheap. They're really not. Like, they can actually be super effective, but they're overused in a lot of movies. Like, you'll just have a cat jump in a window or something.
Right.
Stuff like that. I mean,
I
we're
understand
always going
that,
to point that out. Yeah.
But they work for me. But here's what happens to me. I get mad. I don't want to run away. I'm not scared. I get angry. And then dealing with the emotion of anger and like calming myself down, it's just too much. I get exhausted. This is one of the reasons why.
Makes sense why you don't want to watch a horror movie then.
Yeah, they make me mad.
Being like a safe scare like that actually gives me like a nice feeling, I guess, in a way, because it's not real. And then some people, it does the exact opposite.
Exactly.
No, I totally get it.
It's really interesting to talk about that stuff with you. I have one more, and that is the playing a guitar at a party is a sin. And I just want to say I've done that before.
I'm sure.
Sinner.
If I knew how to play a guitar, I guarantee you I would have done that before. But,
if I knew how to play guitar, I would carry one with me everywhere I went and just
you
right up
you
to
would
people.
totally be that guy.
I would go right up to people and be like, watch me play the guitar. It's amazing. I love playing the guitar.
You guys want to know my artistic vision?
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned some of the ones that I had, Danae. I will also mention, we kind of talked about this, but something tells me I will have 0 people to root for in this. Made me laugh. All the stuff about throwing around gay is just an insult.
Yeah.
I really liked, and I liked,
it is horrible.
I liked the writers didn't have a thesaurus handy part of that, because it was an interesting way to do that sin where it's like, look, I get it. This was a thing. I was alive during this time. I know people did this. That doesn't make it okay. And honestly, it's just lazy how much it's used in this movie, even if it was okay. So, it's kind of one of those things where I like that there was a lot of awareness in that sin that I really liked. I mean, I mentioned, I think last week, my Beyond the Sins was the challenge. And if you go back and you watch those first seasons, which take place from around 2000, and I'm through 2011 right now, and it has not changed, they use the R word for dumb so much. Yeah. I mean, it is it's there in 2011 now. And I'm going, were people still really just fine with that in 9 years ago? And it's just
I still hear it around here. Like not anybody like I'm friends with, but like I still hear it used, and you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah. So it's just it's again, it's a fascinating thing, in something as that I think I talked about last week, is the narrator trying to envision, what words we just commonly use now. We will be sad, in the future that we did. Is I think an important thing. I think it's important now to start kind of thinking about those things. So, but yeah, I thought that was a great sin. The Joan of Arc sin about imitation, about, that just whole thing.
You should have practiced more.
Yeah, I should have practiced more. It made me laugh quite a bit. And then so they can claim it was satire later, made me grin. I like that. So what about you, Jonathan?
Well, going off using the gay slur, I like that Chris kept, because like I had written a couple of things about it, but I think I wrote like one where I was just like, let's just give the movie like 10 cents, and just because, this happens like 4 or 5 times, and, I don't want to keep touching it. But then I think Chris actually was like, no, I want to keep going back to it. And then so at that last time where she says something about like, let's go to a cabin, and for the weekend. And then she's like, how gay or whatever. And then Chris wrote that thing that originally this was a conversion story, like a conversion camp story.
Yeah.
And then they just left that dialogue in. I thought that was really funny. I like the Winston unfortunately survives this was fun, because it's always fun to be able to play around with the stuff we do a lot, where that character, and that was a character that like was awful and you hated, and then so I just remember thinking, what if we just put he unfortunately survives this? Because at first I think I just had he survived it, and then I was like, but do we want him to survive this? And then Bert's brain matter really nixed any chance for you getting that deposit back, man. That was the only other thing I had written down.
That was a good one.
Already touched on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because he just walks in there and he's like, oh my god, but it almost feels like he's more upset than like,
oh no,
like he's not upset that his friend is dead. He's more just like, this sucks.
Was he killed by a book? Because then it would have been a
no, he was
a reading brain blow.
He was shot by the Redneck Brigade.
All right, fair enough. All right, let's move on to The Fugitive. Atkinson Share script.
The Fugitive.
The Fugitive. Chris and Barrett writing on this one.
They have thoughts.
This is a classic, and so we will let them say so. Start with whoever you like, Danae.
We'll start with Chris, because when Barrett kind of chimes in, he sort of echoes his sentiments.
Yeah, what Chris have to
he
say?
says that The Fugitive still holds up 27 years later. I'm surprised I wrote so many sins for it. Much like The Shawshank Redemption, the main character's lawyer must have been the worst ever hired. I think about how much evidence that clears Kimball just gets flat out ignored in this movie. One thing I had forgotten was that on the night his wife gets killed, he was called in for an emergency surgery. These detectives think that on a night where he's at a children's fundraiser, he gets called in for emergency surgery. He just goes home that night to kill his wife for money and blame a one-armed man. I'm also confused as to whether the one-armed man was even questioned. Kimball seems to recognize him in a picture. Seems like a normal investigation would have turned up the guy that guy worked for Devlin McGregor. But one-armed man Sykes claims he was questioned and that 15 people verified his whereabouts that night, a claim where it's hard to figure out if he's lying or if he indeed did get questioned, and somehow the detectives uncovered nothing else about him. But I thought it was funny that 15 people verified it, meaning to me that the detectives did thorough work and must not have believed his story if they went to 15 witnesses to verify it. And they still dropped the ball. And then there's the phone record where Kimball calls Sykes from his car phone at a time that couldn't have made the call, which is somehow missed. This movie also brings up a ton of legal matters, and I wonder how they'd be resolved in the real world. We know Kimball is innocent, but he breaks many laws trying to solve the case, and it feels like the case itself would be tainted in some way once this all went to the courts. I'd love to hear the legal interpretation of Kimball's actions and whether his fugitive actions make it nearly impossible to prosecute the real culprits. Furthermore, I loved dissecting that bus crash and how its location changed from, quote, somewhere in the woods to, quote, across a railroad track about to get hit by a train. Still, it is such a great movie. And Barrett says, I really can't add much to The Fugitive that Chris didn't mention. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, despite the legal maleficence. Did I say that word right? Yes, I think I did. I actually wrote a ton of sins about that bullshit that were cut to reduce repetition. Anyway, one of the best movies ever made, best Tommy Lee Jones performance, and one of Harrison Ford's best. Classic! You said that last part in all caps, so I was really trying to emphasize it.
No, that's good. I had one thought at the beginning of this where they took off the 5 cents for it being a classic, and that was nobody told me this was a thing because Princess Bride didn't have that, and now I'm angry. So it's like one of those things. Now, first of all, let me preface this as always with none of this matters. This is not actually important. But it was one of those things where I was like, how do we do that for The Fugitive but not Princess Bride? So now that I know that's a thing, I'll find a clever way to say it on the next classic I write on.
There you go.
Yeah, it's that was funny enough. The first thing I thought when they did that.
This is such a great fucking movie, though. It
really is.
It's in that conversation of my all-time favorite summer movie. It's in that conversation. And it's probably in my I would think it probably falls somewhere in my top 25, top 50 of all time.
Yeah.
I really, really like it. I just think it's it's a really well-oiled machine from beginning to end.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and this is also, we should, mention, this is an adaptation of a TV show that sets itself apart from that, in the same way I would say a lot of the Mission Impossible movies have. I think it's,
right.
In that level. And it's maybe one of the last truly great Harrison Ford performances, and it might be I think it is Tommy Lee Jones' best performance. It's up there.
It's certain. it certainly has to be in the discussion. That's for sure.
And I love, it's just the way it's such a good performance that like I kind of like U.S. Marshals, the pseudo sequel to this movie because of him, right?
Yeah.
I would actually argue U.S. Marshals is a good movie. It's just not as good as The Fugitive. But if you're going to make a sequel to this movie, they could have done a lot worse.
I have The Fugitive at 92 in my top 100 of all time. So.
It would have to be my top 100. I gotta make a top 100, I guess, so I can compete with Aaron. Be like, look at mine.
You know, it's an interesting process because then instead of guessing, you're like, crazy. I've actually tried to rank these things, and man, it's tough. And every
I'd rather
year
just
tough.
say like. I'd rather just announce like 300 movies as being in my top 25 and not having to check those facts.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I do love this movie. Like this movie is really exciting. Like if we were to go in like 1993, it was a stellar year. I mean, you got Jurassic Park, you got Schindler's List. I mean, just amazing movies left and right. And this might be my favorite movie from that year. It's really good. I think they did an excellent job sending it. It's always fun to see these. I was kind of glad I wasn't on it, but it was fun to watch other people take a stab at it.
Yeah, I don't know that I have anything much to add to what they said other than how great it is and how great Tommy Lee Jones is. And, you know, I think he is my favorite part about this movie. I just think that performance is so captivating and you love that character so much. And you're just with him on this journey of, he seems to be the one person, the movie does this really well. He just seems to be the one person that's like really actually trying to figure out the truth instead of just rushing to judgment.
Even though he says he doesn't care.
Right. Well, that's a part of the beauty of that character, right?
I know.
It's like it's almost like he doesn't care. He's not lying. It's just that he can't help but be logical, you know?
And regardless of whether or not he's innocent, his job is to bring him in and then they can sort shit out. You know, like I think that's kind of more what he's saying. Like, I don't care right now. Right now I care about bringing you in.
Right.
Because that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah. Have you seen this movie, Danae?
Nope.
You should. It's one of those you got to get on your list.
I watched it. I watched the Sins video, guys.
Yeah, you did. Oh, by the way, Jonathan, you mentioned 1993 and you forgot one of the classics that came out that year. Swing Kids is also a 93 movie.
Yeah,
so
I did.
You have to mention
I did forget Swing Kids. I also forgot Weekend at Bernie's too. Sorry, guys. And all these listeners are going to be so mad.
No, I didn't. I haven't seen this. There were a lot of moments where I was like, oh, that's an iconic film moment that I've seen referenced multiple times, but I didn't realize where it came from. Or it happened twice with the outtakes that we do. There's sound bites from outtakes that I'm like, oh, that's from this movie. I was confused several times watching this one, trying to figure out the puzzle, although I was doing really, really well until it got to the end where it starts to reveal who the actual murderer is, their motivation, the other people that are involved in the knowledge of the murder. I don't know why she was killed. Still confused about that. I don't understand that. So if you guys have an answer, that'd be sweet. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to just figure it out. Do you know why she was killed?
It's been a long time since I've watched it all the way through, so I don't know that I know the specifics, but I know both of them were supposed to be killed, right?
I believe so.
Okay, we need somebody else to come on the show right now. So let's.
I feel bad because like I just talked about how much I love this movie, but it all came down to basically like he wasn't going to sign. He basically wasn't going to sign off on some stuff. He's an ethical doctor and all that kind of stuff, and this guy wanted to bring this stuff into it, and what is it? Big Pharma? What do you call it? What do you say?
Right. There was some kind of a pill that didn't have any side effects, and so he obviously was like against that. So she was basically killed. It was supposed to be the both of them, but the guy didn't wait for him to come upstairs. He just decided to jump out of the closet.
Which they do a pretty good job of sending all that.
Yeah, that was
stuff.
Great. Yeah, I saw the Sin version of this movie, and I'm okay with that. I think, although it was fun. I mean, it was fun to see like some iconic names in a movie like that.
Sure.
And it's also fun to see movies that were made a long time ago and the difference in how things. It would be such a different movie if it was done these days. That he had to like look up stuff in the computers and just how I don't know. I just think it was just so different.
Yeah.
I did like pointing out, as Chris talked about, like and Barrett both, just the legal questions about how any of this would actually work in real life. But I think I can understand why this would be such an intense story, because from the beginning, he's innocent. And yet he's being convicted and he's running, and you're like, okay, you should run, but you also are innocent. And then he's trying to figure out the murderer, and you are too. So what a great premise for a movie.
Yeah. So I'm so sorry. So yeah, so the wife is not the intended victim because, they didn't know he was going to have to go out and do emergency surgery or whatever. So he had done investigation into this drug, that Provasic, and discovered that it could cause liver damage. And so it should have never gotten through the FDA. So they were basically killing him to kind of cover up everything. And
Got
so
it. Okay.
They could still get the drug, but then they end up killing his wife because she's the only one there. And but like they point out very well in the Sins video, it's weird that Sykes doesn't even like wait a couple of seconds, like
Right.
So
even when he knows that he's entered the house, like it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But
Yeah,
then
so
you don't have a fugitive. So.
The murderer was still upstairs when he came home though, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. That's why.
Yeah,
it
that doesn't make
really,
any sense then.
Yeah, why wouldn't you just go ahead and kill him? But then you don't have a movie, right? So
Right.
you kind of gotta,
Or
you
even like
gotta
a
roll
fight,
with it or
like
not, I guess.
try. I mean, you already killed one.
Yeah.
It's not like your day is getting any better. Go ahead and do what you intended to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of really fun sins in this one though, to point out things like why would he let her call 911? There's so much of that as I was watching this that I think that's probably why I wouldn't really be that interested in it as a movie. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should watch it for what it is and see if it's intriguing to me. But The Fugitive is one of those big names that if I am one that doesn't like it, or I miss the like it train, then I go into the other category of hateful. So if I stay
Classic
where I
pressure.
don't watch it,
Yep.
then I'm kind of in the middle. Yeah.
And I believe the series finale of the show, which this was, like in the 60s or whatever, and there's, very few television stations and all that stuff. You have to take that into account. But I believe the series finale is still like one of the top 10 like fictional as far as viewership. Like it just had like, millions and millions of people tuned in because they wanted to know what happened.
To the show. On the show?
Yeah, they wanted, like, because I guess, that's like the show was on for 5 or 6 years or whatever, but the whole time, like, he was on the run. And, like,
Wow.
the show did it where, kind of like Incredible Hulk or something, where he's on the run, but then he goes into these towns and he helps people out.
Gotcha.
With
That's
shit.
cool. That's cool.
But there was always this background. There was the mystery of him finding the one-armed man and all that kind of stuff. So the series finale, he does.
That's crazy.
And so everybody was just like, yeah. So it was like, 50 million people or whatever tuned in and watched it.
That's
so.
cool.
Is it Kiefer Sutherland doing a version of this? See?
Fuck you. No, that is the Quibi show,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which they're not even doing. Like they've changed the whole thing. It's like an explosion. He gets accused of like
I didn't know that.
a bombing or something. I don't know. I let my Quibi expert like a lot of people.
Oh, you did? I thought you were my one like Quibi fan. I thought like you.
I was into it at first, but I got less into it. Like I found like I watched like 3 or 4 really cool shows, and then I didn't really find much else that was catching my interest, and then it just kind of felt like it was dying anyway. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I have enough streaming services, and if down the road it finds its ground again and everybody's loving it, I can always go back and watch stuff then.
Yeah. Today I've decided to dub what you're talking about because I think it's a very real thing as prestige pressure. This idea that there is a thing with things that people love and are classics. If you haven't seen them, there's this pressure that you have to live up to their expectations. And I think it's a very real thing. And I don't hold it against people at all that they don't want to go back and watch classics because of that prestige pressure. Yeah, I totally agree.
As many movies as I've seen, there's still plenty that like, and that's partly why I haven't gone back, because I just, I don't know. I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with not liking it or I feel like I've seen it.
Yeah.
I feel like I've heard enough about it to where it's not going to interest me to watch it. So there's quite a few.
Really hope that somebody's developing a BTS like wiki page.
Glossary.
Yeah. Of everything that we do that should be kept track of, the emails, your titling of things. It needs to happen, and I'm not going to remember them.
I'm in a suburban neighborhood, and somebody's car alarm is going off like crazy. You guys can't hear that, can you?
Just so you know, car alarms going off in the background is often a sign of the apocalypse. So,
it just ended, but I don't hear that much. So at first I was like, "What is that?" And then I was like, "Oh, because that's like a city thing, right?
Yeah.
You're in the city, and I'm in like the countries and the suburbs, and
I
don't know."
What about you, Jonathan? What's some of the stuff from this video you wanted to mention?
I liked just the line that they were making fun of the cop where they're just like, clearly this guy sent 123 husbands to jail last year. He's he's in like a contest or something, because he's immediately just like, oh, he did it.
Yep.
And I mean the best sin, and we had a great tweet about this yesterday. So I'm sorry if I'm taking somebody's thing from the comment section, but the way to go, Helen. I know you're like 95% dead and everything, but you dropped the ball, because she says his name into the phone.
Yeah.
And we had somebody actually tweet that out, like, this is so wrong, but it's so right. Basically, like
who was responsible for this one? I think was the tweet.
Yeah.
The Prometheus School of Running Away from Trains, obviously was great. And I just like the did, like, just taking the stabs at Illinois, the reason Michael Myers is still running around this state. And then another classic case of people in Illinois not doing their jobs.
Yeah.
You were voted most likely to be held as a hostage in high school. It was really funny. And my last thing was sneaking up on microscopers. I liked the wording there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I enjoyed a frame poster of furniture. I thought it was a really fun observation.
What was that?
It was right at the beginning. It was like anybody with a frame.
No. I'm like, what was that? Though?
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like an IKEA catalog these days, and someone's just like, oh, yeah.
You might put that up on my wall.
But it was even worse than, it wasn't even like options. It was like different ways that chairs can be positioned in a room or something. It was weird. That was weird.
Maybe he picks a different one every day. Maybe it's like his joke a day calendar.
It could be chair position of the day. Helen dropped the ball. We mentioned train conductor that gets no respect in this movie.
Yeah, that was great.
It just made me giggle. And then after Tommy Lee's famous outhouse henhouse speech, so look for him everywhere. Got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I love when we get to moments like I love discovering how each of us will take a classic scene and either we'll just take a set off immediately or we'll try to do something with it. I always enjoy at least trying to give it a sin.
Right.
So I thought that was perfect.
No, it is. It's great.
When they did that.
Very well done.
I wanted to make sure to give a shout out to at Melon Rooney, who was the person who tweeted wondering who that joke was. Hey, we don't know.
Sometimes we don't know if we don't write on
Sometimes
them.
we don't know.
Yeah.
But we can tell you that the people that you linked in your tweet, none of us did.
Oh, did they not link Barrett? They didn't
No.
link music video sins?
Nope.
And Chris isn't on there.
Right. So all we know for sure is it was not any of us. And I
it was
apologize.
Chris or Barrett, or possibly Jeremy could have thrown that in at the last minute.
We don't know.
Hey, this will be fun.
I did have a couple of other things that were really surprising for me as somebody who hasn't seen the movie. And I like the moment when he jumps, that iconic moment, like seeing the dummy, like tumble down, which is of course how they would have to do that. But I always thought it was a waterfall, but it's a dam.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is total bullshit that he would survive that. Absolutely stand by that sin, even though that's such an iconic moment. But I also, just after that, it's referenced that it's one of our outtakes that we do a lot. That he did a Peter Pan off of this dam right here.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't a Peter Pan be when you fly away though?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
But I think that's what makes it funny. It's just
okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way he could survive that. Right? I do remember when that movie came out, though, there was like a lot. I think that scene was talked about a lot because that's what people. But but it's kind of one of those moments where you just don't care.
Right.
It's like
right.
whatever.
I mean, speaking of don't care, that is one of the most iconic lines in film history. I didn't kill my wife. I don't care. Like it's
and I think
so
we've
good.
used that in outtakes.
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, there were several, outtake ones from this one. I think I forget how some iconic movies are just like that's where everything comes from.
We've cut to him jumping before. We've definitely done the I don't care. The hen house lot, we've done that before.
Yeah, that one is one that that's the one that whenever I heard it, I was like, oh, this is where it's from, because I've heard that one it's like several times in the last year or so. I also wanted to say that the treatment room, like the room of requirement,
was great. That
was a really fun one. The moment when Jeremy cries and says no one will be seated during the Richard saves the kid.
Yeah.
It was just a really fun take on how to deliver that one. I wonder what the notes were on the delivery for that. Like how he did that one.
It's also cool they kind of threw, because that would have been like an episode of the series, right? That would have been like something he would have done. So that's kind of cool how they threw something like that in there.
Yeah. Tommy Leap Jones was funny to me. the fireworks at the very end, like what an interesting thing. Like, so is this a normal thing to happen? That was a fun little question. And this is how I like to cap my movies: 2 respected cardiologists in a fist fight. That one cracked me up. But the sin at the very, very beginning about fearing shitting yourself when you die, I had a real heart to heart on that one, because my greatest fear giving birth was that I was going to shit all over the doctors. This is a very real thing.
It is.
And I just want to say, when you get to that moment, whether you're dying or you're giving birth, you just don't care anymore.
And the doctors don't care. I mean, that's the thing.
No.
The doctors and nurses, can you imagine what they've seen? I mean, there's nothing you could do.
A lot worse.
I cannot imagine what they've seen, and I try not to be honest. So.
Oh my God.
I should say also, my wife watched this video because this is one of her favorite movies. But like I've said before, like she works in prosthetics.
Right.
And she watched this video and she was just like, man, they should have let me write on this. She had like 15 prosthetic sends like from this movie.
The A27 arm doesn't bend at the hinge in this way.
No.
The biggest one for her, and they didn't talk about this in the video, but the biggest one for her is he goes and buys this book so he can look up the different limbs and stuff. And that's apparently like the text for like prosthetics, in school. And she actually went to school at Northwestern too. They show her school. They show her building that she took classes in and stuff in the movie. But that book costs like $500. Like, it's not just something he could have gone and that little money he scrounged up, whatever he did. And he couldn't have stolen it either, because it's like fucking huge, no, she's always like, with that movie, she's always pointing out stuff whenever we watch it. Like, oh wait, that's not right. They can't do that.
Nice. Very good. Let's move on to keeping tabs.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
Each going to tell a story from putting together the content for the week. Maybe a Google search, some strange research, a deleted sin, a note from the script, an alt that was, so much better than yours. Whatever the case may be. We're going to go into it. I only wrote on one this week, so I'm going to start because I really don't have a lot, but I did do some research on the Avatar script on what are steamrollers called now? Because I want to do something about steamrolling. I'm like, but they don't run on steam. So I did some research, and technically they're just called rollers now by most people. However, they are also called street rollers, road rollers. There are different terms that are used. But a lot of what I found in my research was people just being mad that they still call them steamrollers. And so I tried to incorporate, because everybody just does. Everybody still says steamrolling.
Why were they ever called that?
Well, they ran on steam.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
gotcha. But it does sound more like they're rolling steam, right? So why would
Yeah, so people just angry that somehow they are still steamrolled. So I thought
somebody
should
bring that up on Twitter. Like, this is problematic.
That's right. It's
This is
steamist.
not being fair to the past.
Yeah. What about you guys? Jonathan, what about you?
I didn't really have a lot of research. I just had cabin fever and the DuckTales, and didn't really have to there wasn't much I had to research on, but I did have an alt actually that didn't get. So what happened was, in Cabin Fever, there's the part, we already kind of talked about this, the part where she's given the whole spiel. Serena Vincent's character is given the whole spiel about, you're sitting on a plane that's about to crash, and you're just thinking, like, you want to turn to the guy sitting next to you and just ask him to fuck you because you're about to die or whatever. And Chris actually had written a couple of scenes, like he had used like the line before that, and then he had used like a line after that, and he had written a couple of scenes. So this is why mine didn't get included. But after she makes that speech, I wrote a sin that said, note to self, always sit next to Serena Vincent if you are on the same plane. And so I just thought that was such a cool moment, and I was just trying to think of a way to kind of play off it in a humorous and pervy way that we like to do. Even though according to Barrett, we don't write stuff like that.
We don't do that.
We don't do ribble.
Maybe that's why it didn't get put in. Maybe that's why. Because
it was too controversial, talking about how she was getting into the water with a cream-colored shift dress, I should say, not shiv. There's a difference. Just before the end of the world, you want to have nice new underwear.
Oh yes,
and you
want to sit next to a beautiful person in case they want to have sex with you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think these are good rules. I think these are good. I think these are good guidelines.
Good guidelines.
Yeah.
I think our jokes are ribbled for your pleasure, I think is.
Mine was the dragon turtle. So there's this moment in the Avatar library where they're going through, the content of the library, and Aang opens up this scroll and he mentions something like, hey, look at this weird lion turtle thing. And then there's this ding that the show does, which of course would mean like, this is something important. Like in my mind, when they're going to spend
Like an idea.
audio, like pointing to it, it wasn't even an idea from Aang. It was like the show giving a little wink. And I was like, there is something about a dragon turtle, but I could not remember what it was. So I did some research on it. If you are watching the Avatar, I'm going to get a little spoilery. So if you're not wanting to get spoiled on some material, maybe just kind of skip ahead a little bit here. But the lion turtle is the ancient one. And later on in the series, there is a lion turtle that grants individuals the power to control energy bending. And this isn't getting too spoilery yet, but energy bending is essentially being able to bend another person's life force. And also there's some side effects that come with that. You can take away someone's bending ability, or you can restore someone's bending ability. And so this is the super spoilery part. So skip if you don't want to hear it. There's a moment later on when Aang uses this ability that's been given to him by a dragon turtle to remove Fire Lord Ozai's firebending power forever. So it's like this kind of cool thing that happens. And it's all referenced right here in this
in the library
little moment. Yeah.
So do you find out that there's like a lot of other types of bending? Because I know you guys mentioned sand bending. Was that one?
Yeah.
Of them?
Well, but that's technically earth bending. I don't think sand bending.
It all
I mean, they
kinda-
call them sand benders, but they're just earth benders who specialize in moving sand.
And then there's like this swamp benders who like kind of live in a swamp. So they're doing water bending, but they do it like in their way. So there's these different facts of people.
And what's blood bending? Is blood bending a form of
blood
water
bending
bending?
Is a form of water bending.
Yeah.
And so there's people that do blood bending. There's people who do metal bending, which is a type of earth bending.
And blood bending is like taboo
Dark.
because it's like
Yeah.
dark thing because you control people's bodies by controlling their blood kind of thing.
Oh, interesting. And also, I meant to, was the owl, was that just a straight up owl, or was it like an owl man?
It's a spirit.
It's a spirit.
Spirit.
So yeah, in this world, there's all these different spirits, and they kind of are the guides, or they are like powerful beings and entities that have knowledge or protection of various things. And so this owl was the protector of the knowledge of this library.
And Korra goes into the
cool.
spirit world even more than Last Airbender does.
Yes.
And really kind of explores that stuff in the way it does. It's interesting that the Ancient One is also the name of the all-knowing turtle from Neverending Story, is also called the Ancient One.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I think there
I mean,
is
it's-
something about turtles because they actually live longer than us, or at least tortoises do, that, there's this idea of a wisdom that they have.
I haven't watched Neverending Story since I was a kid because I don't want to see that thing die again. Like, I've seriously avoided that movie. What is it? What's the name of it?
Artax?
Artax?
Goes in the, huh?
Artax?
Artax?
Yeah, is that the creature that goes in the water and like doesn't want to live anymore?
The horse, yeah, in the Swamps of Sadness.
The
Yeah,
Swamps
Swamps
of
of Sadness.
Yes,
Yeah, and
yes.
That's
he's
where
just like,
more.
he's like,
That's where
"Come
Morla's
on,
from. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
a little more. I'm never watching.
But the
that
good
again.
news is at the end he's back because everything kind of resets.
Yeah, because
That's
it's a story. It's a never-ending story.
Also, I guess I'll just point out, since you're talking about the turtles thing, in Hindu mythology, the earth was supported by 4 elephants standing on the back of a turtle.
Yes.
So it's like everything
That's
is...
also how I'm supported every day. That doesn't even make sense.
But it's still funny to imagine.
That's fun. That's fun. Let's move on to the
Never-ending story. Sorry.
Woo! Nice. Let's move on to the comment section.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
We're each going to take a look at a comment from the week and talk about it. I do have a comment that I can get to, but I did want to say thank you so much for the love on Twitter for the joke that went completely unnoticed by my co-host on the last episode. Danae was
And
doing
what was funny about that was Danae mentioned it, right? Danae was like on
she was doing the review for the, we all review the episode, and she's like, dude, neither of us even noticed that joke.
I feel like I remembered it, but I guess just because I was already talking or whatever, I just didn't really like. I thought in my head I acknowledged it. You know, it's kind of one of those things.
Sure.
But no, I definitely didn't. And then so that guy on Twitter, I just put touche.
There will be moments where that happens as somebody who loves wordplay and jokes where either people don't get it, they don't notice it, whatever, and you just kind of have to make a decision in the moment, which sometimes it's really fun to play up how people don't react to your jokes, and other times it's just like, we'll see if anybody else notices.
And sometimes it's just Danae ignoring us. I mean, like
true.
literally,
being distracted
like she heard
or
it.
whatever.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
So,
But that
anyways,
time I heard it on the review and I was like, oh, wow, we both missed this. And I wonder who's going to say it. So I'm so glad you're getting love on Twitter.
yeah, absolutely. And it continues. I mean, this one just came in. It says, Aaron Deister, I see you and we'll see exponentially more coronavirus movies soon, but you won't know whether you get them for 14 days. Joke. And I am here for it. So thank you. I appreciate that, Chandler. And several others who mentioned it as well. So it's very nice to be seen. What did you have for your comment, Jonathan?
I had a real quick one. A couple of things. It was a funny comment, but also I love that this guy's YouTube name is Ben Jovi. But he was talking about DuckTales, and he was going off of the whole like last name thing, and he said there might not be any Donald humans, but we do have McMahons. And that's close enough. And I was like, that's right.
Nice. Well, and you've got Mans too.
Exactly. So I was wrong.
There's the director, Michael Mann. Is that right?
Yes, Michael Mann.
Michael Mann. There you go. He's a director.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of Danae's favorite directors.
My name is Mr. Mann.
She loves. She's a huge Thief fan. She's like, man, Thief.
I think I knew someone named Michael Mann in high school. Anyway,
my name's Michael Mann. So yes, I definitely agree. What about you, Danae? What's your comment?
I liked Jeffrey Short in the DuckTales comment saying starting off by using ducking and then changing back.
Hold on. Jonathan is making up for not laughing at my joke last week. He's gonna laugh first.
That turned into me thinking like Danae's like she thought the guy's name was Michael Mann, but they were just high, and he was just like, no, I'm Michael Mann.
Oh, you're Michael Mann? No, dude. I'm Michael Mann.
Michael Mann.
Anyhow, start over, Danae.
I created this whole story.
It's just rarely that I see Jonathan lose it so hard.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Michael Mann.
Oh my God. Jeffrey Short points out in the DuckTales video, starting off by using ducking and then changing back to fucking with the bleep. Make up your mind, narrator. And I just want to say, yeah, fuck you, Germ. No, I'm just kidding. We thought about that a lot. We debated back and forth a lot about whether or not to use ducking through the entire thing.
Oh, we did, yeah.
We decided ultimately not to go that
direction. We were gonna bleep it, right?
We were going to bleep it at one point in time, and then we were worried that it was going to look like dicking or dick instead of... It got to where we just needed to just let it go and make the joke once and move on. So thanks for pointing out that we're going to second guess that forever. I also loved this comment from the Avatar one. We all need to thank the Fire Nation for inventing Cheetos. They don't get enough credit.
Yeah.
And those are my comments for this week.
And I really tried. I had, this is deleted sin for next week's video, I think. But I'll just mention it here because I tried to re-reference that by bringing in like flaming hot Cheetos. Or did that make the script? I don't think it ended up making the script. So it was fun to see somebody in the comments be like, yeah, that's why they have flaming hot Cheetos. Anyhow, it was nice to see the flaming hot Cheetos reference for the Fire Nation because it works so well.
Do you guys like flaming hot Cheetos? I like Cheetos.
Of course not. Who are you talking to?
I've never eaten flaming hot though, but I really do like Cheetos. I just don't like that they get your hands orange.
I love Cheetos. I will gladly put up with orange fingers for regular Cheetos, but
I just I've just got texture issues and just dirt. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Doritos and Cheetos both are like, I love the taste, but I want to I need to create a machine that like feeds them to me so I don't actually have to touch them.
Yeah. No, this sounds great. Sounds like we're independently wealthy again.
I need to be. Let's work
Hire
on that.
a live-in Cheeto feeder. The other comments that I wanted to mention was Alliteration King says, as an Illinoisian, I want to be offended by the does anyone in Illinois ever do their job dig? But then I look at our 6 governors who are in jail and just sigh. Yeah, fair enough. And then I did want to mention, as I mentioned earlier, that I hear you on the 10,000 things. And the best explanation in the comments I found was 10,000 things is a Taoistic expression for all of creation. By introducing himself as he who knows 10,000 things, Wan Shi Tong is referring to himself as all-knowing. He also directly refers to himself as all-knowing when he tells Sokka to at least put in some effort when intending to lie to an all-knowing spirit being. And I actually did know that. Just because.
Yeah, thanks, Ronan Hunter. We already knew that, buddy.
But no, I think it's worth mentioning. But I just, you still can make joke about things that even. As somebody who has been taught many times about the importance of biblical numbers, like the number 40 meaning completion, like did it really rain for 40 days and nights, or does that just mean it rained a long, long, long time? Numbers in many cultures represent ideas, and so yeah, we totally get that.
We knew that, but we sinned it anyway.
That's right, and that is the moral of the story, and will continue to be. All right, let's move on to Beyond the Sins.
To infinity and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wild history.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
I'm so excited!
Can you hide it?
Mm-hmm.
You can?
See me hiding it?
You're supposed to say, I just can't hide it.
I just can't hide it.
There you go. Let's chat about something else from the world of pop culture that you've seen recently. Danae, since you are indeed so excited, why don't you tell us what's in your Beyond the Sins that kept you up all night and made you useless for this recording?
Why don't you tell us,
God.
man?
Yeah, so I found a section of webtoons, so this is going to be a webcomic, of completed stories, which is exciting for me to be able to bring to you. The ones I've talked about so far seem to be ones that are like ongoing where, it's updated every week. But this one's completed, so you can binge it like I did. 2 nights in a row, I stayed up pretty late. And last night, yeah, I stayed up way too late. But I really wanted to finish this one. I cried for probably 10 minutes solid reading this comic, which is super rare for me to feel the level of emotion.
That's a long time. 10 minutes is a long time to cry.
And it
That's
wasn't
a full
like,
episode of SpongeBob.
It wasn't like sobbing the entire time. It was just constant tears and just the emotion that this artist, Lee Hama is the artist's name. You can find her Leehama on Twitter and on Instagram and all this. The emotion that she was able to put together in the story, just the way that she wrote it, it is so good because it's not the normal tropes. It's not like there's a lot of webtoons that I'll kind of pick up and start reading, and it's very clearly going to be the will they won't they love story kind of thing, beautiful people falling in love, and this is just, it's not that. This is a story about Lucy, who has, and it kind of reminds you of Super Taster in a way. I think you would really be interested in her approach. There's actually a couple panels in this story that I was like, oh my God, I really wish that I could share just this even one page with Erin, where she takes a bite of food, and because of her incredible sense of smell, she can determine all the individual ingredients of food, and she is trying to recreate a very important memory from her past that she had at this restaurant that she went to all the time with her grandmother. And it's really important for her to find this moment because it means home to her. It means something really deep to her. But the character development that happens over these 164 webcomic pages is just, it's shocking. It surprised me. The character conflicts that kind of happen as she meets these different chefs who created this menu that she's trying to kind of recreate. They all have like drama that's happened and trauma that's happened and pain that's happened, but how they talk to each other about it is how real people should talk to each other about it. It's not a overblown dramatization. It's like deep work. And it's done so quickly and succinctly. It doesn't spend too much time like delving into stuff. It just kind of touches on it. But by the end, and probably because I binged it, I was so into it. It was just all coming together so beautifully and so surprisingly that I found myself incredibly moved by the story of where she was taking this journey of Lucy and what it means. And so I haven't even said the name of it. I'm so sorry. It's called Gourmet Hound, and it is on Webtoons. It's super free, so you don't have to like pay to look at it. Like I said, it's completely done. And she has this almost like a supernatural sense of taste, and she's just on this journey. You can also read on goodreads.com, which does like reviews of stuff. Mm-hmm. There's people that go into greater detail about their experience reading Gourmet Hound by Lee Hama, and people are having the same experience that I have had in trying to describe how beautiful of a story this is. So I would highly, highly recommend it if you just want to read it a little bit of time or you want to binge it or whatever. It is there for you. Again, it's called Gourmet Hound.
So you talk about the sense memory kind of part of that, the idea that sense memory is powerful and finding home. And I just recently had an experience. We were on a walk, my wife and I, on our 25th anniversary trip, and it was by a lake, and the sound of the lake waves are very different than sound of ocean waves, and the smell of a big lake is very distinct. And I was transported back to my grandmother's house on Lake Huron in Michigan in such a real and powerful way. It was one of the weirdest things where the smell, the sound, and even a little bit of the sight of kind of the shore and the waves just kind of slowly lapping on the shore or whatever. Just, I don't know. There's just something real there where you just like, you have sense memories that can really transport you to different places. So.
I have that when people are cooking out, like in the neighborhoods, because I don't grill. I've never really, and maybe this is partly why I don't grill. Never really thought about it. But it just reminds me of my dad who passed away in 2004. So, because I would like every Saturday night, it was like we cooked out and all that stuff, So anytime I smell that, like on a summer night, like in the neighborhood when I'm walking around or something, I'm just like,
The thing the thing that's really beautiful about this story is she doesn't give you all the details about any of the why. I mean, some of it you can immediately understand why she wants to recreate this moment because, of course, you want to have a feeling of home or a good memory or whatever. But how she develops the history and the backstory that lead up to the ending is so smart. And it's really fun too. There's some good laughter, and I must say too, there's a really, really welcome diversity in the cast of characters. So you get to really see a slice of life from so many different angles, which can sometimes feel overwhelming, but it's just expertly done. And to just kind of give you a hint or give you a glimpse, it's on Goodreads. It's 507 people have rated it. There's 91 people who've written a review, and it's 4.67 stars out of 5. So it's been loved by many, many people. So yeah, I hope Aaron, I really hope you read it, because I really feel like there's some stuff in there that you might really connect to.
I would
as
just like
somebody.
Aaron to read something at this point.
I just like Aaron to prove that he knows how to read.
Funny.
But Goodreads, by the way, to kind of go off on this a little bit of a tangent, I really want somebody out there to like, because Goodreads is like the only thing that exists like for books basically in that type of capacity, and it is such a pain in the ass to use. I don't know why somebody can't come up with like a letterboxed version of, like a letterboxed for books.
Yeah
I just wish somebody would do that. I wish I knew how to do that, because I definitely would.
Yeah it's because books suck, so that's probably
Hey, I just got hurt. That hurt me.
I'm kidding. I'm so kidding. I love books. That's the thing. I don't read much anymore, but I really do actually love books. I grew up reading all sorts of stuff. But yeah,
you gotta cut things out, right? Like I've gotten to where like I don't. Like I don't play video games. I enjoy video games, but I just
same thing.
Where am I gonna fit that shit in?
Yeah, me too.
I watch less sports because
because they don't exist. Yeah, totally. Danae, it is called Gourmet Hound, and it is available. Jonathan, what do you got?
It's only been on one episode. It actually premiered yesterday, but I thought I'd talk about Star Trek Lower Decks because
tell me about that.
Is that the animated one?
Yes, yeah. So it's Star Trek has had an animated series before. The original crew had an animated series in the 70s, but this is the first adult like animated comedy. Really, the first like any kind of comedy that Star Trek's ever really attempted.
Yeah, but only because the Seth MacFarlane one isn't technically Star Trek, but it is.
That is fair. No, I will say that I did. Well, that's not animated either, but I did definitely get Orville because with this show, so this show is called Lower Decks, and it's actually Mike McMahon, who is the head writer on Rick and Morty. He was brought in to oversee the show. So you've got a lot of talent behind the camera. I think Alex Kurtzman is still involved. Like Alex Kurtzman, for those that don't know, he's kind of involved in all of the CBS All Access Star Trek shows. Mm-hmm. Like he's kind of the overseer. He's kind of like, all of a sudden that guy's name completely, but the MCU guy, like he's kind of that. And so he brought in McMahon to do this. And Mike McMahon is a huge Star Trek The Next Generation fan. And his favorite episode of Star Trek The Next Generation is Lower Decks. And it's actually, I would put it like in my top 10 Next Generation episodes. It's in the final season. It's this episode, for those that don't know, where it focuses on the support staff as opposed to like the senior staff. It focuses on the people that are like making sure the food regulators work and, just making sure the ship runs and all that kind of stuff. So this is an entire show about that type of crew, like the support staff of the ship. Yeah. And he said it in it's the star date is 2380, which apparently, because I don't have the star dates memorized like a lot of people, but apparently that's like right after Star Trek Nemesis, so it's before Picard. Okay. So it's somewhere kind of in between those two things. And it's on the ship there. It's the USS Cerritos, I guess is how you pronounce that. It's Cerritos, and it's not like it's not a big ship in the fleet. Like it's kind of one of the smaller ships that just kind of like it shows up like after first contact's been made, and it makes sure like that everything's going well and that kind of thing. And then it focuses, like I said, and then it focuses within that ship. It focuses on the support staff of that ship. And like I said, it's the first episode. I thought it was really funny. I really enjoyed it. I'm really curious to see where it goes. Like it was not, it's not the best thing I've ever seen in my life, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it felt very Star Trek, despite what I guess quote unquote real Star Trek fans were claiming. But Red Letter Media apparently had a field day with it. I kept that for some reason this guy kept coming on mine and Frank's Twitter thread, letting us know that Red Letter Media didn't like it. So thank you. But anyways, no, I really enjoyed it and had a lot of fun with it. And it's a recommend for me. It is only on CBS All Access. So you do have to have that subscription, but I'm sure eventually it'll be on DVD, Blu-ray or whatever. But they're only doing one episode a week, so if you just wait like 10 weeks, you can do the 30-day trial and binge it. But I really like this. I like Star Trek trying to do these different types of things, and I like the idea of like an animated adult comedy. I think it's great. And it's still, like I said, it still has that, like, especially it has that Next Generation feel to it. It feels like I'm in that universe, and I'm just, kind of like, but it is similar to the Orville too, where it feels a little more blue collar. Yeah, for sure. No, it sounds interesting. But I think it's definitely more like, I don't really consider the Orville is funny because Seth MacFarlane is doing it, but I think the Orville is still pretty straightforward. Like it's still very much a science fiction show. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is definitely more of a straight comedy. Oh, okay. So that would be, I would say, and it's animated, but I would say that's the difference between it and the Orville. But
I actually read an article on Polygon because I was kind of curious about it, but they interviewed that guy that you're talking about from Rick and Morty, and it seems like he is a huge fan. Yeah.
I think watching Rick and Morty, you can kind of see that.
Yeah, and he was talking about the short of it basically was like, is he prepared for backlash? Is he prepared for that? Mm-hmm. He's like, he's already a fan and he already knows what that's going to be like. And he even defended some of the things he did in the episode and like the process of going through like, I justify this because of this, because he understands the world so much. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really good sign.
I think the people that are like the gatekeeper type people that like, and you have this with Star Wars, you have this with every franchise like this, right? You've got the people that just refuse to watch the newer stuff or accept the newer stuff. But what I don't get is like, even if you don't want to watch it, that's fine. But I hear all these comments like, I saw all this stuff like CBS All Access has ruined Star Trek. How have they ruined Star Trek? Like the original series still exists, right? Next Generation still exists. I mean, you can still go back and watch those shows. games. I
Right.
never
Yeah,
can.
it's a
I just don't
different
understand
thing.
that mentality that like something like it's when the Ghostbusters came out with heaven forbid Ghostbusters has women in it, and you've ruined my franchise.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
Well, I think it's fun. I think it's fun. Whenever I saw the commercials for it, I was excited about it because I liked Star Trek and I like the idea of there being an animation and I like there being, new people and a new perspective and, all that stuff. And, he talked to the interviewer said something kind of like, basically asking if he's able to get good notes from like the producers or something like this because they're involved with other projects. It was really kind of a bold question. And he's like, this franchise wouldn't let anything happen. They're very protective of it. So yes, they're paying attention and, they are involved, but I have the freedom to do what I do. So
I'm impressed. Yeah. I'm kind of like happy that they finally started, not being at like the main, I don't know who the main people over it, but like, I feel like the franchise overlords, like, or Paramount or whoever, they finally started like letting some of these people just branch out on their own and do their own thing.
Yeah.
Because that was I think that is why like maybe Voyager and Enterprise, some of the later series suffered a little bit because they weren't allowed to do things that they wanted to do, like season-long story arcs and stuff like that. And now they're kind of being allowed to do that. Part of that is because Rick Berman's no longer involved. That's a huge part of why they're able to kind of mess around with it. But I'm glad. I enjoyed this. I think it's fun. It might not always work, but I would say I enjoy Discovery, and I liked Picard, and so far I like this. So
yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad they're doing this stuff. I do have CBS All Access pretty much for the Star Trek stuff. Star Trek and Survivor, pretty much why I have CBS All Access. And yeah, I'm excited to check this out. So
and it's cool because this will be on for 10 weeks, and then I believe the next week Star Trek Discovery season 3 premieres. So you're basically going to have like 15 weeks or 16, 17 weeks of just of new Star Trek, which is really cool. No, I recommend it though. I think it's I had a lot of fun with that first episode, and hopefully it continues in the same vein.
CBS All Access factors into my Beyond the Sins as well. Imagine that, because Big Brother is back, and of course Aaron's going to talk about reality television.
I saw Simser talking about it. Like he was giving a detailed thing about it last night.
Yeah. I'm a huge Big Brother fan. I love what they do. They're doing another season of All Stars. So they're doing a season of Big Brother All Stars, which means these are people who have played the game before and done spectacularly. Some of my favorites aren't in the house, which, I kind of wish they were, but I do like a lot of the people that they've chosen. So I'm going to have a good time, but CBS All Access factors in because for the first time in my life, I'm going to watch some of the, what do they call it? The live
After
feeds.
Dark.
No, the live feeds. So, that used to be something you had to pay for. Now it's part of CBS All Access. So anytime you want to look in on the Big Brother house, you can look on in and kind of see what's going on and what kind of strategy they're talking and, who's mad at who.
So is this not because I know like Showtime or somebody used to do that Big Brother After Dark. Is that not kind of different. The same? Okay.
Yeah, Big Brother After Dark was more of kind of an edited, here's some other stuff that happened and maybe they can use swear words. Like it was kind of that kind of thing. So this is a little bit different than that. But I also really like kind of the way that they've done it. Now, I will say, and you may be referencing Simser's tweets on this, but the first episode wasn't great. There were a lot of things about it that were repetitive, but they did it live, and they've never done that. They've never they'll do live evictions, but even then they're usually showing stuff that has been recorded and edited, that kind of thing. They've never done a live entry. But I think because of COVID and because they were kind of showing how everybody's been sequestered for 2 weeks and now are going into a different kind of sequestering, they wanted to kind of do it live. But I don't know. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about these characters, these people, and kind of seeing who strategizes in what way.
Yeah, I've never really watched the show. What is do they have contests and stuff?
Yeah, there's a format to it. The format is basically, although it changes quite a bit, they are way open to twists and changing things and different things like that. But the format is basically there is a head of household each week, and the head of household is responsible for nominating the nominees, and then those 2 nominees are voted on the others for eviction. So it's a pretty simple concept, but it works. And develop
because you got to play a lot of mind games, and you got to make. Oh yeah, that's got to be tricky figuring out.
Yep, and there's also usually a veto competition each week, where whoever wins the veto competition can veto one of the nominees and make the person put up a different person. So that kind of
neat.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun.
And then they drink.
There is alcohol in the house. Yes, yeah, they do give them.
But
alcohol.
they don't know anything that's going. Like, because isn't this the show where like there was something? Was it actually last year? Like, did they not like the people didn't know COVID? Or I mean,
it wasn't during COVID.
I know there was something recently.
Yeah, there have been. I don't remember what it was either, but yeah, no, they're totally sequestered from world events unless it's so big that it almost feels wrong not to tell them. For instance, one season, one of the cast members had a relative die, and that it wasn't expected or anything like that, and so they did let them know about it, obviously. And but other than that kind of stuff, no, they're very, very much sequestered and kept from the real world. So yeah, yep. Big Brother All Stars is airing on CBS 3 times a week, and they've got the live feeds and different stuff like that. So,
man, I wish I could get into shows. Like sometimes I'll watch it and I'm interested, and then other times I can't get into it.
It just depends. I mean, fortunately for me, I connect to the competition part. I like the competition part, right? And I like the strategy and the human nature. I love all that stuff. So it almost doesn't matter even if I love the characters. For most people, it has to do, I think, with the characters. So if you fall in love with these people and you're rooting for them, then you kind of want to see how it works out for them and that kind of stuff. So I think a lot of it would depend on that for you.
My wife and I really like the competition aspect, which is why we watched Amazing Race, because that really felt like the least possibility of like there being like dramatic interpretation. Like that felt like the most like they were having to do what they had to do, and that people couldn't come in and like change it up. But after a while, that just, I don't know, it got old after a while. They never really changed up their format, and so after like 15 seasons, you're just kind of like, I feel like I've seen this. And I'm sure they have done stuff since, and I'm not aware, but to people that still watch it. But yeah, I'm like Danae. Like, it sounds interesting to me, but I never stay on for the long haul.
Sure.
On these reality shows.
Yeah, I get it. Everybody's got their thing. One of the most dramatic things that happened in the first episode this season is somebody fell and a book fell on their head, and they had a reading brain blow. And that was
oh my God,
that was
I seriously thought you were telling a serious story.
I did too.
Thank you.
I sold it. About to be like,
I sold it. That's gonna wrap it up for Behind the Sins this week. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed and go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. You can hang out with us on Twitter. We're at CinemaSins BTS. Personally, I am at Aaron Dicer. She is at Danae Says.
DENEESAYS.
And he is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, and myself, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to bts@cinemasins.com. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment. Find more ways to connect by visiting cinemasins.com/BTS.
The time is 9:32. Current temperature,
I have been prepping on Thursdays until this week because I was doing stuff.
Yeah, you were. Oh, no. We don't want to know about you doing stuff with your wife.
I was doing all the stuff.
Oh, Jesus, Lord in heaven.
Like, I just don't believe Aaron has sex. Like, he has 4 kids, and I still just don't believe he has sex. He's a good Christian boy. Obviously, that's a joke. I do believe you have sex. Once again, you have 4 kids.
He's just a Ken doll down there. There's no purpose in his groin.
I'm just never going to get used to us talking like this. I'm just kidding. It's fine.
After our years and years in Christian radio.
Is there just like a list of things you can't talk about on Christian radio?
Oh my.
Literally.
Oh my.
Like a book?
This is about to happen.
We were actually handed a piece of paper in one of our morning show meetings that we had, with a list of words we could not use, including the word I, right? Isn't that right, Aaron?
Yeah, that was a big one.
EYE?
No, the letter I.
Like,
you can't
I
talk about yourself.
I went to the supermarket.
Yeah.
That's really weird, though, because that's like that kind of like, I don't listen to radio a lot.
You can't say
anymore,
I don't listen to radio. You have to say radio is not something that is listened to by me.
I gave you a really extreme example.
Yeah,
you did.
Because our PD was.
Well,
I know there's got to be a lot of weird stuff that you wouldn't think about. Like, the obvious stuff is obvious. Like, you're not going to sit there and talk about like blowjobs or something, but you wouldn't do that probably on regular radio either, unless it's like
blowjob wasn't
Howard
on the
Stern.
List. Blowjob wasn't on the list.
That was not on the list. Oh, no, maybe that was covered in the blanket statement. Nothing.
I was saying, if that was not on the list, you should have talked about that every first day. It's not on the list.
Can't say I want a blowjob. You have to figure out a different way to say that because you have
That's
to.
like that Seinfeld where George sleeps with the cleaning lady, and then he's about to get fired. He's like, well, technically, it never said anywhere I couldn't sleep with the cleaning lady.
Now, there were some interesting ones though, like you couldn't use the word death. You couldn't use the word, murder. You couldn't, there were all these things.
Yeah.
And it was and it was weird because it wasn't even in the building. People didn't even agree. Amongst the leadership of the station, it was you can't give them lists. Let them talk. And I don't know. It was weird. It was a very weird environment there for a bit.
Yeah.
And
for a bit.
For a bit, I mean the entire time.
The entire time. I made a pretty big mistake in preparation for my Beyond the Sins today. And I decided to press on with reading a webcomic last night.
Oh, yeah.
I read a webcomic last night and the night before and finished the entire thing. And I stayed up until 3 o'clock in the morning reading it.
Oh, no.
Anyway, I also cried a lot because it was beautiful. So then I went to sleep at 3 a.m. exhausted and then also emotionally exhausted. Yeah. So now I have super puffy eyes and no sleep. And then instead of eating my breakfast, I was on a call with Barrett this morning. So I'm also hungry already. So anyway, it's going to be great. We're going to have a great show.
Do we need to talk about self-sabotage? Do we need, are we trying to come? Because I've got a hangover this morning too.
You do?
Well, not
what kind of a hangover?
Not an alcohol hangover, just a walk 8 miles in the wilderness up mountains hangover where my body's you just need to take the day off and not walk up and down stairs.
If I walked 8 miles, I would be dead. So.
Did you hear Jonathan?
What?
He's like, I'm fine.
No, I slept 8 hours and I went to bed at a reasonable time. It was a very boring night.
All right, Jonathan, you're hosting the show today. You're just doing the whole thing.
Congratulations.
You know what's cool?
What?
Walking sticks.
I have one of those. Wait. The bug or the actual?
Bug. Those things are amazing.
Right? I know, right?
I mean, they are either the clearest example of survival of the fittest evolutionary design or of God's design. There is some either way, there is incredible design going on there.
Did you see one in nature?
Yeah. I was
cool.
in nature yesterday, so I saw a lot of things. But no, he's just walking across I would have never seen him if he wasn't walking across the path. Because if he was in the grass, it would have just looked like a stick.
Because they're walking sticks.
They literally are walking sticks. It's insane. And they're not walking sticks with legs that look like an animal's legs. The legs look like sticks too. Everything about them just looks like another stick hanging out in the grass.
They're very sticky. Yeah. Or what's even scarier, thinking about things that blend in. I was browsing, I think it was Twitter, and there was something titled, it was clickbaity for sure. Something like, can you see the
panther?
Mountain lion?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Bet you can't find the panther in this picture.
Right. And so then I try to find just the picture somewhere without having to click on an article that gives them all of my data. And I had such a good time on my little panther or my mountain lion search. And then when I finally saw where it was hiding.
You couldn't sleep for a week?
Oh my God, it was so scary. Because they're hunting. I mean, what did I think that they were going to be doing? Having tea?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yes.
No.
Find the hidden mountain lion who is doing stand-up comedy for his friends.
Right.
So it was our 25th anniversary, so we went for a walk in nature, and that is not something I love, but it was all the perfect, everything came together to make it just perfect for me. Basically, the weather was incredible. It was high 70s maybe, and there was a breeze. And because you're kind of down in this valley, it's kind of temperate, and it was it was
God
beautiful.
Knew that you had to have that,
yeah,
to survive or even try to enjoy yourself. What other nature things did you see?
Oh, so many waterfalls. It was interesting because the place we went was it's owned by the same foundation that Bass Pro, the Johnny Morris Foundation. So it's Dogwood Canyon, if you want to look it up. So it's kind of a little bit touristy, just a little bit. It's still very nature, but the waterfalls are kind of man-made in some way.
Not kinda.
Well, I say
not kinda, Aaron.
I say kind of because the water does actually fall. You know, like
Right.
they are actual waterfalls. It's just that they're pumping the water through them, you know. But
it's on the backside.
Oh, it's like fake snow. It's not fake, but I mean, it's kind of like, you know, skiing and places. That don't have snow.
It is a great representation. You feel like you are, you know.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
You were in a simulation.
Yes, in some ways. It really is gorgeous. And honestly, I don't want to speak out of ignorance because I don't know how many of them are what percentage of fake, how many of them pump water, you know, that maybe some of them are legit. I don't know.
Right.
But it was definitely one of those things where it was a close enough representation. They did a great job. You feel like you're walking through, you know, 8 miles of canyon. Well, technically 4 there and 4 back of, you know, pretty incredible nature stuff. So, you know, we saw rainbow trout and you know, all sorts of cool stuff.
If you get like tired, did they send the golf cart for you?
No, we took a backpack with some Subway in it and some snacky snacks, and then halfway through we sat at a picnic table and, you know, had a nice little picnic lunch in front of a couple waterfalls. The funniest part about the waterfall pool at the end was I really loved it because it was like 2 waterfalls falling into one pond, and I'm thinking about marriage and 2 lives coming together in one place and being together, and I'm like, oh, we could do this cool picture. So we're kind of just standing there, you know, and I'm looking at different angles with my camera, and a lady comes up and she says, do you want me to take your picture for you? And I said, are you ready to follow my artistic vision?
That's when I just would have been like, never mind.
Yeah, no, which is why I said it.
Sorry I offered to help you.
Oh my God. I love it so much.
Because I had to explain it because I wanted us like holding hands in front of the waterfall, and I just wanted our hands in the foreground of the picture, but the waterfalls in the background, and I wanted the hands between the 2 waterfalls. You know, like I had a very specific thing I wanted to do.
Aww.
And she was like, I'll give it my best shot. It's like, all right, you're
She
awesome.
felt like she was stuck at that point. She's like, oh, damn it.
And it was funny because she was like, as she was trying to starting to try to get the angle right, and I had to re-explain a couple of things for her. In this, I'm guessing 20-something young girl is over to our left just snickering, laughing, just kind of let the whole situation.
Well, can you imagine, like, this poor woman, I mean, her story is that she's probably been in therapy for a while, and one of her therapist suggestions was you should offer to help people. Like, if you see somebody standing there trying to take a picture, you should be, hey, I'll take a picture of you. And that's all she was doing.
Won't be that complicated.
And then the one time she does that, she gets fucking Aaron Dicer. And
So we stayed at an Airbnb, which was they were very COVID friendly. We appreciated all that. But it was a really nice place. Everything was great, except when we got there, the Wi-Fi was down. And well, technically, just to be technical, the Wi-Fi was working fine. The internet wasn't connected to the Wi-Fi. For whatever reason, their internet was down. So I contacted them and they didn't get back. And like the entire evening, they didn't get back to us. It was really frustrating. And then in the morning, I messaged again, and he was like, "Okay, you know, I'll head over and see what I can do." His solution to our internet being down was to set up a mobile hotspot on his daughter's iPhone and give us her iPhone.
What?
I'm like, we are strangers, dude. I'm just like, you know, like you're handing your 14-year-old daughter's iPhone to us, you know, to use for Wi-Fi. And it's really nice. Thank you. Like it worked. But it was just like one of those things. I'm like, I've never had a daughter, but I have had sons, and I don't even think I'd give you their phones, you know?
Well,
like,
and my daughter would never let that happen. Like if I offered that, she'd be like, yeah, whatever. And then she'd walk away.
I think they let her kind of, like it's kind of her thing. Like, I think they're teaching her about, like, running the business of, because there was a sign in there. I mean, the reason I know it was his 14-year-old daughter is because they had a little thing in there. It was like, hey, my name's such and such, and I look over this place, and I make sure it's stocked and cleaned, and here's how I clean it, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so I wonder if it's kind of like one of her responsibilities. And so, I don't know.
Child labor. Cool.
I hope they had unlimited data because I used it to stream hours and hours that morning of poker from the World Series of Poker. So, because that's what I do on my anniversary trip. All right, let's get started. Wow, that's very appropriate considering one of the shows we'll be talking about today.
I can't imagine being able to actually speak like Donald. I can only make that one sound. What you just heard is all I can do.
Let's talk about ducks, baby. Let's talk about Donald and Scrooge.
Huey.
There you go.
Huey.
Yeah. Let's talk about ducks, baby. Let's talk about Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Oh, there you go.